Internet's garbage right now, which means the video is going to be garbage. The lighting actually looks decent. Doesn't usually look this decent, so that's something. With my robot voice, because that's what it's going to sound like. And I have a snowball mic, for those you didn't know. So if my internet actually worked, that'd sound decent. But it it is what it is. I don't think it's gonna go well, guys. I think it's gonna go horribly. Yeah, the internet's it's Ethernet cable, baby. That's what and it's gonna have to be long too. There's gonna be a pretty penny, which I've accidentally spent. No one's even here, so I'm talking to myself. But that is what that is. Do I even need this? I'm not listening to anything. But no one's here. There's one person here actually. It probably sounds like garbage. He said to stream, and I always have bad internet connection. So why even bother? I'm just gonna sound like a robot. This is the best lighting I've ever had in my room, and it still looks like garbage. So that's fantastic. But yeah. I accidentally spent $200, but I meant it, but I didn't. I came to mean it, so that's something. It was fun though. How's everybody's, or I guess just Ethan, because he's only 1 year. How's your whatever morning, afternoon, night going? Yeah, Pig was like, you should stream, Alex, at the end of Lance's stream. So I went, oh, well, maybe. But I always got crap internet, so it's like, why even bother? But here we are, doing this again with no plan. I usually like having a plan when I do this stuff, which I don't have a plan right now, so it's just random. Good. It's better than really bad. Decent, good, all things great even, but bad is not fun. So as long as it's one of those other three, you're in a good place. But yeah, whoa, the internet got slightly better for a second, so that's kind of interesting. But I don't know. I'm just here. I started Heart of the Jedi again, which I'm one of the people that has a physical copy because I got it when Matt said to get it, so I have it. So that's good. Everybody can read it for free online, StarWarsTimeline.net. But there was a time last year where you could have bought it online, which I did. So I have a physical copy of Heart of the Jedi. So very excited to be rereading it. I did something I don't usually do the first time. I went out of order. I read it because it was new EU, and I wanted to get on the hype train, so I did review it, but I've reached it chronologically. How I did it slightly differently than Matt. I placed the first 20 X-Wing issues before Heart of the Jedi, and after Heart of the Jedi, it'll be Shadows of Mindor, which Jason is in the Discord servers has spoken highly about, and then I finish off the X-Wing comics. After that, I'm retreading ground that I've already covered, I think, minus a couple things here or there. But for the most part, I'm pretty familiar moving forward after those X-Wing comics. You got it the day before it was taken down. I mean, that's pretty good. Lucky you. I mean, I got it earlier on, but to get it the day before it's taken down, you must have felt so lucky. Shadows of Endor. Yes, nobody talks about that, but I am excited to read Shadows of Mindor by Matthew Stover. It's the only Stover book I haven't read yet, so because I've read Traitor, which is my absolute favorite. It's Traitor, episode 3. Shatterpoint's probably gonna be at the bottom unless I really don't like Shadows of Mendor, but we'll see. But yeah, how does Lance do this? How does Lance do this? How does Noah do this when it's just like a random stream? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't like going to a stream without a plan, so I don't do streams. But everybody's like, do it. Be like Noah. Sorry, I don't got enough hate. There's only so much I can rage about, and it's gotta really piss me off to do it. And Bounty Hunter Wars, that was one of them. Not gonna get into that again. I'm over it. Moving on to bigger, better things than letting my rage be filled by that book. Is it? Is it actually? Well, that's a blessing because it's usually not. So that's a positive. Now it's time for me to move out, get a car, get a better setup than this, get some good lighting. I'll be a professional YouTuber. I'll look like two Star Wars nerds. If you don't know who those are, then you should go subscribe to them. Just ramble about random crap. I donated $200 to a streamer I was watching. She's a smaller YouTuber, so she was very giggly, so it made me feel good. But I don't have that money, but I spent it anyway, so I'll pay for that. But it was worth it. She seemed very happy. I mean, most people would be, but she seemed very genuine about it, so it made me feel good. So there was my dopamine drop for the day. I mean, I'll earn it back, but it's also like I Uber to work and back home every day. And I'm on call, so sometimes I get 8-hour shifts, sometimes I get 3-hour shifts. So if it's a 3-hour shift day, I'm earning 3 hours of work, $15, 90 something. I'm bad at math, but then you got to subtract that by 30 because you're Ubering to home back. So it's like a lot of money that is wasted just going to work, but it is what it is. Hey, Ghostfish, good to see you. Ghostfish needs to be praised because he's the most consistent. He's the only one that usually comments on my videos. Like, no one else usually does. Sometimes I'll get an occasional comment from someone else, but I can always count on Ghostfish like 90% of the time to say something. And I just really appreciate it because, I mean, I'm small. I would love for my comment sections to be actually filled with stuff, though. Oh, I'm so stupid. Thank you. 90, where'd I get that from? Yeah, so, and divide that, 45. So I'm barely getting anything. When I work the 3-hour shifts, which is often. Are we talking about the what's it, the Devil Worlds thing with the squid? No, Blue Pig's not here. He's the one who told me to stream. He didn't even show up. Yeah, basically. I earn $15 every day unless I get an 8-hour shift. So that's fun. But I do what I gotta do. Eventually I'll have a car. Yeah. Those Devil Worlds comics, man, they're a trip. They don't. Darth Vader is literally at maximum guilt ever since episode 3. Yeah, that is a little bit of an inconsistency. Well, nobody really knew what Vader was about, right? During the prequels or during the OT. Besides that, he's Luke's father and used to be Anakin. But we didn't know anything about Anakin, so. But I mean, I prefer the being being fueled by your hatred of yourself. I think that's there was a fan film or like a fan little thing on YouTube. I don't remember what it was called, but it was Revan versus Darth Vader. It was stupid. I mean, they shouldn't have been meeting, but it was just like it was just a fan thing. It wasn't meant to be taken as like a serious thing. I mean, it wasn't not taken seriously, but it was just like a fun what if. And Revan was like, "Where do you get such power?" He's like, "Where does all this hatred come from?" Or I forget how it goes. It was something like that. And Vader's like, "What do you hate that much that gives you this power?" And Vader just responds, "Myself." And I love that. My sombrero. There he is. There's Blue Pig. Took him long enough. Hello there. Hello there. That is a funny tunnel. Yeah, it's your fault. It's not an inconsistency. Oh, that yeah. Maul versus Vader was a comic in Tales, I think. But I was talking about a fan thing on YouTube that is Revan fighting Vader. Yeah, I would say that matters, except that YouTube has disabled the dislike button. So now you can't even see if people hate your videos, which I said back in the day, because I'm old enough, back when the back in the day, back when the dislike comments still exist, I was like, go ahead and dislike it. If like 100 people dislike my video, you're still helping me get more views. Like, if you truly don't want a YouTuber to get more clicks, don't do anything. Just exit out. The moment you comment or you dislike, you are actually helping, regardless. So, you're helping the clout. So, but now it doesn't matter because dislikes just don't exist. I still got some pep in my step. Noah's like already like an old person. Like he's like already accepted defeat, and he's he's still in his 20s. But I guess that's what happens when you live in Germany and you have a terrible living situation. Yes, absolutely. Oh, is it there? Well, it's also in that short on YouTube, but it's with Revan instead of Maul. I don't remember what it was called. Maybe I should put it on the stream. But if I put it on the stream, it's most definitely going to break it, and it seems to be going pretty smoothly today. So I don't want to risk that. But yeah, for those, I think Revan Kist was in the chat. Chist, Revan Chist. How the fudge is that freaking title spelled? But those of you free, this will probably break my internet too. But there you go. There is a link for those who want it. But yeah, I just worked today. I haven't gotten any reading done. I read the X-Wing comics. I was gonna start Heart of the Jedi, but I already read it. And I hadn't played video games a long time. It was my day off yesterday. So I was like, why don't I try playing a video game? Because it's been like 5 months since I've touched one. Besides Dark Forces. Because I played that as part of the, going through it in chronological order. More so than Matt, because I include the video games. So, but other than that, there wasn't much. But so I played a little bit of Dead Space, which was as tense as it ever is when I start playing it. But I read the first chapter of Heart of the Jedi, which I love. I love the whole freaking thing about that intro to the book. And we have a guest, but before I do that, of Count Dooku was the same species as Thrawn, he'd be just differently. Where am I on the X-Wing comics? I'm 20 issues in. I should talk about that. I'll bring my guest on for that. But those last 4 were garbage. But yeah, I'll get into it. Hello.
Speaking of geezers and old people.
You're not super old.
Oh yeah, well, just comparatively to everybody else.
Hey, well, when you were my age,
when I was your age.
Yeah, what the
Also,
90s?
I think it's pronounced Revan Kissed, like hard
Revan
C.
Kissed. Okay.
Yeah. Revan
Revan
Kism, because
Kissed.
it's
Revan
based on
Kism.
Revan Kism.
Okay.
It's just crazy how like that's not even his real name. They never gave him a real name.
Yeah.
I don't think. Because
it's supposed to be whatever you name yourself.
Right. In the KOTOR comics, they just call him the Revan Kiss Leader.
Yeah.
And then it eventually becomes Revan and then just Darth Revan.
Yeah. Though I think, I don't know, because Revan isn't his real name. That was a weird thing, too. I was reading the old Marvel comics, and Flint, I think is his name. He comes back. It's Flint and Barney or something like that. 2 characters from the old Marvel comics. And he turns out to be like this dark lord that Vader was training or whatever. And he just calls himself Lord Flint. He just named himself. He just put Lord before his actual name, which I thought was really funny. As to Blue Pig's comment about which story arc I meant in the X-Wing comics is issues 17 to 20, and the X-Wing people, I think they go to Bothwai. I don't remember, but there's a bunch of Bothans in it. But that's not the weird part. That's fine. There's Wes trying to have sex or like getting very flirtatious with a Bothan dancing girl. I mean, that's a little weird, but that was fine. But then we get to this big thing about this angel. This is like Jedi Prince levels. Like we got this Devorian who's devoted to the Empire, and he's wearing like this red robe, and he's got Sith magic, and a Bothan guy shows up. He's like, "No, I'm gonna claim this power," and he literally, right, hold on, he points a gun, like right here, okay, and his hand pops off. Okay, it pops off and it goes on the Devorian's neck, and he starts choking him. I don't know what Michael Stackpole was smoking, but I need some of it because that was insane. Kyle's hometown. That's fair. What do you chat stream with anyway? What do you mean? On StreamYard? That's what I'm streaming on. Revan kissed Bastila. I like that he never had a real name. Revanchist is pronounced more like revenge, but with a French accent. Revanchism is a French term about being butthurt with the Prussians.
Revanchism, something like that. Revanchism.
Oui.
Yeah.
Oui. Am I having a few Wilkins? I said Devorian. Is that not how you say it?
I think it's Deveronian.
Deveronian, whatever. Devorian, whatever. I will have my map. Frick. I will enjoy my Matt Wilkins moment. Frick everyone. It's not on Bothwai. It's on a planet where the Bothans are stranded, and there's a Devorian Sith cultist using ancient Sith temple source to make everyone act up, including being horny. Okay, well, you made me understand that comic better. It still doesn't make it good. Well, I mean, I enjoyed it. It's just stupid. Right? The hand popping off. Like it literally like it's he's not a robot or anything. It comes off, no blood, nothing. and it just starts. It's Evil Dead. It just starts choking out the Deveronian. Sorry,
Bothawui.
both wooey when you do Endorian mushrooms. Magnano Wilkins, thank you. I'm honored. Botho wooey, whatever, man. I don't care. These are all fake terms. Yeah, well, maybe that makes sense in Solomon Kane. It doesn't make sense in Star Wars. Yeah, but in Evil Dead, the story is about a bunch of ancient demon things. So to my mind, that makes perfect sense within the context of that universe. It just doesn't work for me in Star Wars. How do I pronounce what? Bothwai? That's how I usually have said it. That's how I read it. But apparently I'm wrong.
I've always pronounced it Bothawui, but
Bothawui? That's
yeah.
fun. Cool. What have you been up to?
I started reading, well, I guess rereading Wedge's Gamble today.
We're all having the problems today.
Yeah, I started all these pronunciations. I started rereading Wedge's Gamble today,
Yeah,
and
that's a
it's
good
going.
one.
Yeah, it's going well so far.
I love
I
those books.
yeah, I finished Fate of the Jedi Backlash. I think I told you about that. That book was
Yeah,
trash.
it is
Uh,
trash. They're on Dothmere, and nothing interesting happens on there.
not a single thing.
Noah's like,
And
oh, that's one of the better books. This is why Noah doesn't make sense. Noah's quality autism.
yeah,
It was like, and he harps on the fact that the Jedi Temple looks a bit like the Jedi Temple, the prequels, yet explicitly states it's like only on the inside that it does. On the
right.
outside, it looks different, but he doesn't take that into account because he just wants to get too angry. It's not too far. I loved Dosmere in Courtship of Princess Leia. I didn't care about anything going on in Backlash. I'm sorry. It was just boring. You haven't even read it, Blue Pig. I know you haven't because you said you haven't read any of the NGO stuff yet.
Oh yeah, they redid the Wedge's Gamble audiobook, so now it's unabridged.
Oh yeah, that's one of the good things that Lucasfilm has done outside of Dothamir. That's what I said. It's Dothamir. Dathomir.
Isn't it Dathomir?
Dathomir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. It's whatever. I've heard it pronounced differently by different people, and also on TCW is inconsistent. I don't know. Whatever.
Here's the biggest debate: Twi'lek or Twi'lek?
Twi'lek.
See, I've heard both.
Yeah.
Clone Wars, I think, uses Twi'lek, but I've heard Twi'lek in audiobooks.
Dathomir. That's what I said. Dathomir. That's what I said. What do you mean? I don't get it. But yeah, I don't know. Pronunciations are stupid. I don't care. It's all most of it's being read anyway. It's not like they say this stuff in the movies.
They had huge race wars. I believe it.
Yeah, I bet. No, duh. All right, Blue Pig. I see how it is. This is why it's the Blue Pig stream. He made this happen. The pronunciation stream. You guys need to do this to Matt Wilkins more often, except that he just doesn't let it get him. He just goes whatever with it. It's like Han or Han, I guess. Are now unabridged. I hope when they do the unabridged Wraith books, I want them to keep one detail from the abridged.
Which detail would that be?
Yeah, you gotta elaborate, Ghostfish. Have you read Shadows of Mindor?
A long time ago when it first came out, I read it.
Oh, okay, because I haven't read it yet. I've heard positive things about it, so I'm curious.
I mean, I like it. It's a Stover, but it's also, I think, my least favorite Stover novel in Star Wars.
We'll see, because so far I didn't care for Shatterpoint that much. Everybody praises that one.
See, I like the idea behind Shatterpoint because it sounds like a cool idea, but maybe not in Stover's hand. Maybe in, I don't know, maybe like someone like Luceno who's better at describing action scenes and that kind of thing. So
yeah, no, I was not into the action at all. Like, there's a lot of action in that book, and I guess for people like that would make sense. But I could not get in. There's only a couple people that have made me genuinely enjoy action scenes. I think Drew Karpyshyn is one of them.
Yep.
Stover doesn't really do action.
No.
Well. So I don't know. I can't think of anybody else at the moment besides. I mean, maybe Lucino too. But
Aaron Alston for dog fights, hands down.
Yeah, those were because for me, I'm more of a visual guy. So when it comes to action scenes, a lot of the time in the Star Wars books, unless I'm like seeing like, oh, somebody died or something, I'll usually like kind of skim through it. Like, not that I'm just like skipping it. I'm just like, my mind kind of dulls over it. Like, it just becomes meh to me. Like, I'll read it and it's words, and unless I see something important, I'll just keep going through it because I don't get into it like I do with. That's why I prefer comics for action. I'm more in it for the dialogue and story within it.
For sure.
That's why Trader's one of my favorite books in the entire EU.
Trader's it's goated. The best.
Just talking for 70% of it, which is what Stover should stick to because that's his strong point. To me anyway. Same. We agree on something, Blue Pig. Stackpole for fighter on fighter dogfights, Alston for fights against bigger ships. That's fair.
That's fair.
My issue with Shatterpoint 2 is I like the idea. He's like, let's do Apocalypse Now in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And Apocalypse Now is great.
Yep.
But you aren't the person who wrote Apocalypse Now, and it just doesn't like, I get what you're saying. I get it. When I'm reading it, I understand what's, being paralleled. But it doesn't work the same for me as Apocalypse Now does. And I don't know if that makes sense.
I think you're gonna like Shadows of Mindor. He does a good job of weaving in other sources from the EU into it.
I know like the main bad guy is Black Hole from the comics.
Yeah.
So who, I mean, I heard a lot of things about him from Mindor, but in the actual comic he's in, he's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see if he makes him an actual good character in his book.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I wasn't super impressed with Shadow Spawn. So, but his characterization, but that just might have been me.
I guess I'll see. Which slowed down, which turns the medal ceremony not just in celebration of the Death Star's destruction.
So that was from the audiobook, I think, that he's talking about. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
I believe that. I mean, it sounds like a propaganda film, like, Flash Gordon and the killer robots, or, something like that, right? So
yeah, the way I heard people talk about it is like, if you don't necessarily vibe with it, you can just chalk it up to propaganda. But if you like it, you can also just accept it as actually happening, I guess is how it's meant to kind of be. Yeah, I know. I remember Matt talking about it, that his official death is in Tales, because I don't think he dies at the end of Mindor. So that's cool, though. It makes Tales slightly relevant to read.
Yeah, I bought all 6 graphic novels for Tales. I just haven't made my way through them yet, other than a few stories here and there. But
I buy every comic except for Tales. I just go on read comics online. I don't want to. Those are the last thing I'm going to spend my money on.
No, me too. It's just, it's over a decade of collecting and that kind of thing, right? So
yeah, so you that's like the last thing you gotta get. But issue Shadow of Mindor doesn't make complete the roster reporters. Yeah, well, that's fair. I mean, Stover kind of does that a lot, where he makes it like interpretive, what actually is the way it should be. So I mean, I can if I like the story, I can just accept it as happening. If I don't like the story, I can just take it as entirely propaganda.
It's actually kind of funny. Stover got into it with someone on Twitter, I think a few days ago, over the nature of the dark side.
Uh,
and and Stover was basically like, "Yeah, well, I had a lunch with George Lucas, and this is what he told me. So go screw yourself."
yeah. Tails is always relevant when Villy's involved. Now, it's funny because when I read Villy, I had like a very specific way of talking as him, and I don't know if that's how other people envision. But it was like, I'm Villy, I talk like this. I don't know. I had it was a very fun reading Villy. Villy's one of my favorite comic
So
characters.
that's how you imagine him, because I
Yeah, I
imagine
imagine
him like
talking like not like high pitch, but like in that sort of tone because he says really simple sentences. So
I
I
imagine him
imagine,
as like a Eastern European kind of. Hey,
uh,
Quinlan Vos is me,
oh,
Vilmar Grach, your
oh, I
best
can kind of see
friend.
that too.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. That's yeah. I might try doing that next time I read those. Read it like that, but I didn't know what to like what he should sound like. So it kind of just became that after a while.
yeah, kind
No,
of like Watto.
Watto's like, I mean, kinda, but it sounded a bit different the way you said it.
Yeah, I tried to put some nuance into it. I'm not gonna go full on another
Yeah,
culture's accent, because then I'm gonna get canceled. So
that's true.
yeah,
I actually reread or re-listened to the Emmy Alliance duology, and I completely misremembered the Black Hole Space Joffrey duel. I thought that black hole put a hole in Pratt's brain and left, but no. Ooh, like black hole all also got completely fricked up by Eirik Ezerman and barely crawled away. And only just
man, Black
banned.
Hole just gets beaten up in the EU.
Yeah, it seems like Ghostfish agrees with you there, Eastern European. Really, really is a Russian. I've come to help. I don't even know how to do a Russian accent, but I that'd be really funny too. He's for communism. Billy.
I finished Republic a couple weeks, or sorry, a week and a half ago, and I just breathed a huge sigh of relief, because I didn't know whether or not Quinlan Voss was going to survive, um, because I just never spoiled it for myself, and no one ever had. And then in the end, when spoilers, we find out whether or not he does survive.
Hmm.
I was very pleased with their decision.
Oh, hello. I don't think I've ever seen you here before. I don't know if you're coming from Blue Pig's Discord server or not, but yeah. Sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt you. I didn't see him before. But yeah, how was going through Republic again?
Oh, it was actually first time for me.
Oh, first time.
Yeah, if you can believe it. I've owned those comics for 15 years, and I just
Yeah,
never touched them.
I can't believe it. You've went 15 years without reading one of the best comics in
Yeah,
Star Wars.
well, life happens,
That's
school, and
fair.
then work,
That's fair.
and then I had some free time this summer, and I dug them out of my long boxes and just popped them all open. I'm motivated to do. I'm not doing it like you are. I'm not doing like a reread
Yeah.
chronologically. I'm just sort of
Yeah.
picking and choosing.
Yeah.
But
Well, my reread's kind of happening now that I'm getting into post Return of the Jedi. Pretty much
yeah,
everything from Dawn of the Jedi till now has been almost pretty much blind. So it only became more of a reread the closer I got to the movies because I read Allegiance and Choices of One the first time through, and then uh, Shadows of the Empire, the comic. I guess I completely forgot I didn't read the novel. I just read the comic for some reason, and then I made my way from there. So, oh, and then I also read the Episode 3 novelization, Labyrinth of Evil,
yeah,
Rise of Darth Vader, because it was in one collection,
that's right.
and that was it for prequel stuff. So other than that, I was and Darth Plagueis. Other than that, I was blind to all the prequel stuff.
And that's crazy. Must have been such a trip to read that
Yeah,
stuff for the first time.
yeah. Darth Plagueis. Oh, and Darth Bane. I read Darth Bane. I'm talking about the first time I went through it because I skimmed it. I skimmed every era, but I only like started reading everything after episode 6. at least novel wise. I have a Crimson Empire, Crystal Star, the Invasion comics, and the Chewbacca comic. All the stuff I've missed.
I like all those things. Crystal
Yeah.
Star, it's bad, but I still like it. So yeah, they have Twi'leks speaking French or with a French accent, I think, in the Clone Wars show.
That's true. I do
Yeah,
remember that. But it's also Filoni.
yeah,
So
you know, take it with a
take it with a
grain of
grain of
salt.
salt. Yeah,
There
exactly.
you go.
uh, hmm. Also, Blue Pig, I know you're a Canon fan, and that's okay. Noah is not Noah. Noah would not say that. Sorry. Lance has said the same. It's just the more and more you 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 look into stuff, the more you hate it. And I don't need to look at the other stuff. I watched the sequels, disappointed me enough, and I gave Mandalorian a chance. I wasn't that impressed, so I'm just gonna stay positive over here. Actually, I'm not always because I read Bounty Hunter Wars and I crapped on it. So never say that I'm a shill for the EU because if I think it's garbage, I will say so. But if I talk about, hold on a second, I'll be back. Keep them busy, Revan.
Yeah, sure. I can't select comments like he can, but what chat program do you guys even call on? Well, I just click on his link and it brings me into the YouTube video itself or the stream itself. So I don't have to download anything. It says StreamYard in the top corner, but I didn't have to download any app on my phone or anything like that. Yeah, I don't even remember Bounty Hunter Wars. But what I will say about the Disney canon is I recently read Princess and the Scoundrel, and that book is trash. The first 25% of it was pretty good for canon. And then the rest of it was just not interesting at all.
Yeah, sorry,
Hello,
Ghostfish.
Nazo.
Nazo.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, I see. But yeah, Ghostfish. I I know somebody else is kind of being kind of snarky. No need to be snarky, but yes, StreamYard is the streaming service that most of us that make videos tend to use because it's free. At least for like 2 hours or 3 hours, you can do it for free, and it'll just clock you out and not let you stream anymore. But it's pretty easy to use. So if you ever want to use it, it's called StreamYard. You can find. Oh, I see. He's joined. Do you want to? How you doing?
You mean like this?
Yeah, there we go. I can hear you.
Yeah, you're good. How you doing?
How the fuck do I turn on push to talk?
Oh, we can hear you.
Yeah, I know, but how the fuck do I turn on push to talk?
I mean,
I don't like anything that isn't push to talk, but oh well.
You just keep toggling the mic button.
that's
Yeah,
true. There's a mic
wonderful.
one.
I have to mute myself manually with my own fucking headset.
Oh,
What are we, barbarians?
Yeah.
yeah. PC
But
Master
yes, I didn't
Race.
know I could just do that. That's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if I add a link anyway.
You
But,
left one in the chat, so I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
used it.
yeah. No,
I
but
didn't know what that
otherwise,
was. Okay, that's
yeah,
really
yeah,
cool. But
yeah.
yeah. Sorry, what was it that I wanted to talk about? But yes, I was gonna say earlier I was saying Space Joffrey, and when I say that, I just mean Eric Ismarin from Children of Jedi.
I
Who's
remember,
Space-
spoilers, reading Traitor, and that was the coolest thing ever. Because I read Children of Jedi when I was really, really young, and
Traitor wasn't the one that had that. Oh, Traitor had the after effects of it, but I actually read
that's
Traitor
right.
first. It was the only Vong novel I read for a long time
Yeah.
until I saw a huge amount of recommendations for the Alston duology, and I'm just like, I like Alston, and I've got some good recommendations. I'm gonna fucking read these, and I love those even more. But yeah, Traitor had the after effects, but it was the Alston duology, Rebel Stand and Rebel Dream in the other opposite order, the
That's right.
End-of-Lines duology that had Eric. I had actually been spoiled by that with Wikipedia because everyone liked to laugh at the picture of him, which is actually completely fucking inaccurate to how he is in the story. In the story, he's got a lot more skin showing,
Yeah.
and he just has like the emitter caps on like parts of his arms and parts of his legs, and they don't stay on all at the same time. They come on reflexively to block.
I mean, how can you laugh at that and not at General Grievous?
Yeah, I mean,
Conceptually the same thing.
People laugh at General Grievous too, but
Yeah, fair enough.
but like the part where he does not have armor covering all of him. The armor is subdermal. He has armor, it's just under his skin.
Oh.
And he's not bulky and wide. He's long. He's tall and gaunt. The official art for Nyax's Marin is fucking atrociously wrong.
Yeah, that's fair.
The big Hulk-looking guy.
Yeah, with lightsabers bursting out of everywhere. But yeah, he does not look remotely like that in the book. I don't know who the fuck did that. Although
yeah, it's fair.
Although that reminds me of just illustrations that got it slightly wrong, but were still so fucking amazing, I'll forgive it. Basically, anytime Coruscant appears after, being Vong formed, be it in the enemy lines where it's partially Vong formed or the finale in the Japanese covers, that is the only thing they get wrong. They just draw prequel Coruscant, and it's supposed to be covered in fucking green. Not all of it, because especially by the end, it's starting to come apart, but that's the only thing they really get wrong. And I fucking love how they drew Face Loran. He's just fucking Kane from Command and Conquer.
Yeah, those Japanese covers go hard. They're so
they
good.
are the best.
So good.
The enemy lines, the second enemy lines one with Lusankia on it, and Luke in the fake Von Dune crab armor, and it's got Mara, it's got Face Loran, it's got Jaina, and I remember somebody showing the cover and was like, who's the bald guy? I'm like, that is probably the best character in Legends, or one of them. The Face Loran is so good. Oh man,
Revan,
Alston was a fucking treasure.
I mean, Ethan asks, what was the part of Princess and the Scoundrel you disliked?
I can talk about this real quickly because I don't want to give this any more airtime than it's due. But 50-ish% of the novel takes place on this ice moon, which, I read the book. I finished it like a day ago, and the name already escapes me. I think it's called something like Madurs. And, spoilers, there's an Imperial base on this planet that Han and Leia need to dismantle or work together to dismantle. And it's just the most generic, forgettable adventure you could think of. And they spend almost as much time in that novel apart as they do together. And it's supposed to be like their honeymoon. And the other thing, this is my problem with canon.
The other half is on their stupid fucking hotel.
Yeah, the airliner.
Right?
My problem with canon novels is that they just don't, they're not really imaginative. They're kind of by the numbers, a lot of them. Not all of them, just a lot of them. They're more character studies than they're more character driven than they're plot driven. And the EU, I think, is more plot driven than it's character driven. And I prefer more plot driven stories than character driven stories.
I don't mind a mix. I like when they mix, for example, the
Traitor,
obviously, or I would say the Race Squadron books are.
That's very true.
The Race Squadron books are both. Race Squadron books manage to be both. It's got an incredible amount of plot crammed into it. It's got set pieces. It's got schemes and scams. But then again, those schemes and scams also derive heavily from the characters being brilliant fucking schemers.
But
God bless.
Sorry.
God bless fucking Zinj for being the most fun villain in Star Wars.
Yeah, he's great.
He's one of the most fun,
Yeah.
I can think of none that are more fun. I mean, Palpatine when he's having a ball is also fun.
Yeah.
But Blue Pig, I would counter, just like with Matt Wilkins, I'm going to dislike it. And maybe I would like it, but I don't want to spread a bunch of hate on stuff that I will that I'm like at least 80% certain I'm not going to enjoy because it's not the universe that I care about. I'm gonna be honest, I love the EU more than I love the Star Wars films themselves. I fell in love with the canon of the EU.
I'm gonna say I have read
I mean, I don't criticize
I've read 4 new canon novels. I've read, and 3 of those 4 were by people who were veterans from Legends anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've read Tarkin, I've read New Dawn, which Tarkin was going to be a Legends novel that they
Yeah.
just slightly edited. I am 99% sure of that.
That is correct. I've heard that before. Yeah.
I mean, it's still technically a rumor, but you can see the bones of it. I mean, it references ships that haven't appeared in new canon anywhere else. Pretty much, it's got the Victory, and new canon likes to pretend the Victory doesn't exist. I've read A New Dawn, which is good. I mean, it's John Jackson Miller. It's funny. It's not the greatest, and it depends heavily on this like super modern surveillance state where 1984 everything is being recorded. I'm just like, this is Star Wars where the cameras are fucking gigantic, even though droids can have really tiny eyes. So just ignore that. You know, the cameras are these giant fucking boxes in the 70s movie, in the original movie, and they're getting blown up. And I'm just like, having everything be spied on at the same time doesn't feel very Star Warsy. It just raises too many questions for other stories, in my opinion. Other than that, it was pretty good. The villain was basically Trump meets a more generic self-help guru uh meets Sundowner from fucking Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, and
Right.
it's just fucking fun. Like, I know that he's kind of doing this as a bit of a take that, because it's, you know, his politics or whatever, but he's just so much fun as a villain anyway. Like, I mean, although the thing is, he's described as basically having his face frozen in kind of a generic warm smile, but I imagine his face just being Sundowner from Metal Gear Rising. Kids are cruel, Jack. Kids are cruel, Kanan. Just because that's what he is. He's a cyborg who beats the shit out of Kanan from Rebels, and it's fucking funny. That's also where they established that cortosis works totally fucking differently in new canon than it did in Legends, where it's like it converts anything that hits it to electricity and then kind of conducts that electricity away from the hit, which is kind of like how ultrachrome worked in what do you call it? The Mace Windu book you were just talking about.
Shatterpoint.
Shatterpoint. Like
Yeah.
ultrachrome, except that just keeps it as heat and spreads the heat out. It works like ultrachrome, except it converts it into electricity instead of keeping it as heat, which is weird. And apparently that plays a role in the later Thrawn book, where Thrawn and Anakin have to blow up a Techno Union planet that's full of cortosis, and the
Yeah,
cortosis.
that's Thrawn alliances.
Yeah.
I can't speak to the Thrawn books in the new canon. All I know is a small excerpt that Noah shared, Quality Autism from YouTube,
Yeah.
where it says something about double vision, and I thought it was really funny. But I have no so I don't.
I got double vision. Sorry.
That's okay. But that's this. I will if I hear other people I trust talk about the plot of a book or a show, I'll be like, "Oh, this is from what it sounds like," but I won't actually critique the work if I
Yeah.
haven't watched it
Yeah.
or read it.
The other
So I don't try to
ones
do
I've
that.
read are the first Thrawn book, which was all right. It was pretty good.
Yep.
And I've read Bloodline. I haven't actually read Lost Stars, which I've heard is even better.
Lost Stars is one of the few canon novels that I actually enjoy.
I've seen the Lost Stars
Yeah.
manga, which makes the Twilight boy incredibly cute. I'm just like, all right, I know what's his name? Who's the one from the Han Solo? Who's the Moff Sarnshield? I know what he's into apparently. Which what was it calling? Matt Wilkins says he's the first gay character. The thing is,
Not Baylor Valance.
no,
No.
Valance was only by a retcon.
There's
They left. No. Like Sarnshield from Crispin's solo trilogy. But the thing is, she left an out. She said he's not into human females, which implies he's either gay, into aliens, or both.
Right.
And she's the
probably
beard.
both.
And like I said, that's why I said both. I mean, I was joking because the Twi'lek girly boy. He also shows up in Bloodline later. Fuck, Yendor, I think his name is. I only remember because it's just Endor with a fucking Y in front of it.
Ethan had asked earlier about Princess and Scoundrel, whether it was just some big advert, and I would love to tell you yes, it was, but it didn't feel like it was one giant advert for the Halcyon. They spent maybe, I don't know, not too much time on the actual ship itself. Like maybe 10% of the book was
Oh my
devoted
god,
to
the hotel
advertising
is
it.
so the whole hotel is so unpopular. Even the authors don't want to stay on it.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I didn't feel like it was egregious, and I wish I could say that I'm motivated to say that I wanted it to be, because I wanted another avenue to criticize it, but that's one thing that I can't fault the book for. So
yeah. So I was gonna say, and Bloodline was, like you said, it was pretty character driven. It had Leia and her wereaboo friend.
yeah,
I love just calling him a wereaboo because he's a fucking wereaboo.
not Casterfo. That was the senator that she was kind of frenemies with in that book.
Yes, he's a fucking wereaboo.
Oh,
You know what a
okay.
wereaboo is, right?
No.
A Wehrmacht weeaboo. Basically, non-Nazi Germans in World War II, way into the technology side of things and the tanks and all that. They're
I
called
see.
wereaboos.
I've never heard that term
Mostly a
before.
thing, it's mostly
Yeah,
a
me
thing,
neither.
and it's mostly like an online thing about history nerds or gun nerds or World of Tanks or War Thunder type stuff.
No, fair enough.
I only played the Germans because I like the Stug and I like the idea of a case of a tank with no turret, and they had most of them. The Russians also had some, so I was meaning to play those, but then somebody told me they're kind of shitty because your crew sits in a fucking conga line, which means one hit will kill all 3 of your crew, and you can't run a tank with 1 man, so you immediately die because honestly, really, tanks don't usually run with half their fucking people as corpses, but the game lets you run as long as you have at least 2 people in the tank.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll stop, and it's basically to represent the crew grabbing the body, pulling it out of the chair, and pulling themselves into the driver or the gunner's seat. Which it's not remotely realistic. Same for the ability to put your tracks back on after they've been blown off. But whatever.
Ghost Fish.
Sheriff. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
No, I was just gonna ask what got Ghost Fish into the EU.
Yes. Good
This
question.
is gonna be funny, but I'm pretty sure my first Star Wars EU was either a video game, maybe. Oh no, I think I might have played Dark Empire at a friend or Shadows of the Empire at a friend's house once, and Jedi Prince. I'm literally not joking.
Awesome. I
No,
love
It
that.
was literally.
That's amazing.
the same for me. Both those things. were my-
But yes,
I
and
can't
the thing
wait
is,
to
like,
read
I
it.
had friends who would like role play Star Warsy stuff, and they were doing it mostly based on Thrawn Trilogy and TIE Fighter, which one of them had.
Right.
So there's one of them who played, a Warlord Zarin and whatnot. It's a funny thing. So yeah, that's my experience with the EU early on, was those things. I might have had a comic here or there, but I read actually the Underworld comic. I had that as a youngin. I don't remember when I got it. I don't remember if that was.
I'm
before
sorry.
Is that the Yavin Basilica one?
The Yavin
Yeah.
Yeah.
Garbage comic.
I mean, I didn't realize how many toes it was stepping on. So
yeah. Well, even still, I hate the art. I could barely stand to
I
look
didn't
at
mind
it.
the art. I don't remember it completely, but I
remember you saying that
liking
in the video
the
or in the comment
skiff
section.
when they're on Mon Calamari. Speaking of Mon Calamari and how they go to the memory bank with the hive mind oysters, Mon Calamari has so many fucking sentient species. It's got the Quarren, it's got the Mon Cals,
The Whalodons.
it's got the Whalodons who are fucking sentient and sapient. It's got the hive mind clams, it's got the hive mind jellyfish, and it's got I think 2 more hive mind species as well. One that's like a bacteria or a type thing colony. Oh wow, Plagius is a first book. That's actually really
a privilege.
interesting. That is that's it's really good, but at the same time,
Yeah.
Plagius is almost intended as like a capstone, where you've read all this other stuff and I know where that's from. I know where that's from. Oh my god!
Because
So that's
Lucino's
what
the
happened?
master of connections.
Yeah, James Lucino, he ties everything together.
And before him, it was Ann Crispin. I have to say that Crispin's Han Solo trilogy was. I think you're muted, Alex.
Oh, what?
You gestured, and I could see you trying to do a mind trick on me, but I couldn't hear what the fuck you said. Was the hive mind from Clone Wars Adventures? What was that made of, Cunningham? But yeah, Endor also has a lot of sentient species, but Endor, a lot of them are shipwrecks. Like the Sanyans are shipwrecks. I think the Dulocs might be too. I don't think the Dulocs evolved on Endor. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
Dude,
kinda crazy 'cause
am I heard now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can hear you now.
fine now. It was only briefly that it was like that. When you waved your hand across the screen, I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Gotta remember, Endor's a moon, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes, I think it's in the Ewok comics. They call it the planet. But
Yeah,
to
but
be
it's
fair, what would the Ewoks are? What
the
would they
Ewoks are
know?
probably it's
That
the
would be their
translation of
home.
world. Yeah, it's their
Yeah.
world.
right.
Yeah.
Yep, both the moon and the planet are called Endor. It's not Endor 4 or Endor 2 or anything like that. It's just both of them are Endor.
That is so
And the sun,
interesting.
and the sun is probably Endor 2.
That's
Fucking
really
annoying.
interesting. Ethan's first thing with the EU is The Force Unleashed. His first novel is Rebel Force, a young adult series. And then
Ooh,
finally,
Jedi
the first adult
Search.
novel is Jedi Search.
I love
That's
that
crazy.
novel. I don't care what anybody says.
I have my
not
issues
a
with
good
the Jedi Academy trilogy.
book
However,
in terms of
when
writing.
Yeah.
It is, however,
Jedi
quintessential
Search
Star Wars.
is the start of the Jedi Academy trilogy by KJA, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the one. First book.
I don't like it. I don't like the Jedi Academy trilogy, but I do like individual parts of it. I still think my favorite little roast of the Jedi. I've called a Shadow trilogy, which is I Jedi, Starfighters of Adamar, and the Hand of Thrawn duology. I call it the "Fuck You, Kevin J. Henderson" trilogy.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it's not really like intentionally like super mean or anything like that. Especially with I mean, let's face it, Starfighters of Adamar starts with breaking up Wedge and Quizooks. I still think Quizooks and Gent from I know Alston and I know Stackpole and Zahn don't get along all that great, but I would have loved if
I can't not love Jedi Academy. It gave me
not liking. Usually,
Kip.
SJH. That's interesting. Usually, people like one or the other because they see one as fixed. They see iJedi as fixing it.
I do. I
see
hate
iJedi as disgraceful.
Or at least I hate the parts that are on the parts that take place during Jedi Academy, because that's only a portion of the book.
Yeah,
the rest of it has absolutely nothing to do with that. So literally, he could have just cut that portion out, and he would have had a fine story, continuing Horn story. But
somebody needed. Luke was. Let's face it. Luke was being an idiot in the Jedi Academy trilogy, and everyone wanted someone to say something to him about it.
No, disrespectful. Don't approve. No.
I'm ambivalent towards iJedi, but I'm rereading the Jedi Academy trilogy. So I read Jedi Search a couple months ago, and then I recently finished a couple weeks ago rereading what's the middle one? It's not Champions of the Force, Dark Apprentice, and Dark Apprentice is a very bad novel.
I don't think a lot of people would agree.
Is Dark Apprentice? That's the middle one, right?
Yeah, it's a very bad novel, but I still enjoyed it because it's Kevin J. Anderson, it's Exar Kun. It's
Exar Kun.
Yep.
As the audiobook says.
That's how I pronounce it too. On my podcast. I say Exar Kun.
You do?
Yeah.
Exar Kun, which is I always seen that as the like the Japanese honorific or
I mean the other pronunciation would be what? Exar Kun, right? But Kun sounds
No, I say Exar Kun, but I don't go there's like a Y sound in it in the audiobooks, which is weird.
Kyun,
yeah.
That's weird.
Like it's spelled with either a Q or there's a Y in there somewhere. It's a little bit weird there. But I liked the MTAT. I actually learned mostly. I was a big source book guy before I was a novels guy.
Yeah.
So I had the essential guides. I went out and I had my parents. I'm just like, can you buy me this? And it was the original, or I think it was the revised Imperial source book. And I still have that. That's the only West End Games book I own. But it was the source of so much cool shit on Wikipedia that I'm just like, I need to have this.
Yeah.
And I remember I lent that to my uncle because he remembered at one point reading a book where they had the organization of battle, the order of battle for the Empire, and that's where it was from. I'm just like, yeah, I actually own that here.
Ethan had asked, how so is Dark Apprentice bad? Okay, so Han finds out that his wife's been in a traumatic accident, and I know Alex is going to defend this scene. He says, "Oh, great! I better go to my wife," and then decides to play a round of sabacc with Lando instead of immediately going to see Leia. And I just thought that was a huge mischaracterization.
That seems like they slipped into they were supposed to be. They fucked up the order of the scenes in editing or something.
Absolutely, that's what it seemed like to me.
I think if his wife had been working with him on that book, that would not have fucking happened, because when those two work together, they are fucking fantastic.
100%.
I do not like most of KJA's solo work. I fucking adore everything he and his wife did together.
Yeah.
I also liked a lot of Darksaber, but not all of it. Yeah, Jedi Prince also brings in a lot of Imperial Sourcebook stuff. You know, strike cruisers, torpedo spheres. Like, the fucking Moff Prince flies around in a strike cruiser instead of a Star Destroyer. That's cool as hell. They have a Star Destroyer and a... Shit, there's the Moff Prince.
I love that word, Moff Prince.
I fucking love it. And you guess what you're getting at the ability to do in the Empire at War mod, Thrawn's Revenge? You can finally side with the Moff Prince if you're playing as the core Empire.
Oh, that's so good.
Instead of advancing on to work with Izard, you can just choose to work with them instead. So you can bid dark greetings to the whole galaxy.
Dark greetings. I can't wait to read it. It's gonna be so much fun.
You should be reading it pretty soon. I mean,
I will. I have
the same time as what you're doing.
It's Heart of the Jedi, Shadows of Mindor, the rest of the X-Wing comics, and I think it is Jedi Prince, if I remember.
Are you done
Apprentice
Heart of the
might
Jedi?
even be before Mindor, honestly.
Oh, I was going to say, are you done Heart of the Jedi?
I've already read it, but I'm rereading it.
I still need to fucking sell all those spare Heart of the Jedis I bought.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I bought them for $10. If I can flip them for 100, I'd be glad. If I can flip them for 3, I'll be fucking crazy. I bought like 5 of them total, and I've got 4 to sell.
There you go.
So yeah, I gotta have.
How much are you selling them for? Are you being a greedy bastard?
I'm gonna try and I'm gonna at first list them for 2, see if they go up to 3, but they're probably only gonna go for 1.
I got mine for 100 Canadian, but it was a straight cash sale in a parking lot. So.
Oh my god. I was gonna say I'm gonna put I have to say I liked Heart of the Jedi in parts, but I didn't like it in others. Like they might have been making the same mistake that Kevin J. Anderson and others do in calling normal ship laser cannons turbo lasers.
Right.
But like those Hedgehog things have fucking 50 double turbo lasers on something that's maybe it's like a semicircle as long across as like a frigate, and it's got more firepower than it's like 150 meters across. So it's like 3 Corvettes in size once you round them up, once you kind of put the mass all together. There is no fucking way you are mounting 50 double heavy turbo lasers on something that small.
Yeah.
Or at least you can be able to shoot all of them. At that point,
say, I don't. It's weird. I have this weird dissonance with Star Wars where I don't take things as seriously as I would in another series. Like, the plot needs to not be completely ridiculous, but as for like ships, tech, it's fake anyway. None of this
I get
is
a
real,
I get a little bit nitty gritty about the power scaling. I'm an RPG guy at the first.
No, it's okay. I understand that.
If a setting isn't, if I can't imagine a role playing game in a setting, I don't find it very interesting.
That's fair. I do want to address Marcel Revan kissed point about the Han playing sabacc. First off, the entire tone of all 3 books is one that is very lighthearted and silly, which is necessary because in the future we're going to get dark, 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 some more dark, nothing positive really. But
lighthearted and silly mass genocide.
In that scene, when he goes to play sabacc, he's not told, oh, she's currently dying or in pain or anything. She's recovering at a hospital or something along those
You
lines.
still go
Right.
see her.
Right.
She's still
But
your
he
wife,
knows
and
that
she's still in the fucking hospital.
Sure.
He's told she's fine.
Exactly.
You're right. Yeah.
He's
Okay.
told she's fine. So then they go and play their game. I know if this was a different book, if this was written by Stover or James Luceno,
Or if his own wife had been there to say, slap him upside the head.
Sure. But this is a very fun, lighthearted series.
Have a good time, Lore Master.
Oh, bye, Lore Master. But I don't mind Han having fun in this. It depends who's writing it and what the series is going for.
Like, they
it's
could have
going
had
for a lighthearted series, so I don't
like
mind.
You know what they could have done? They could have done that funny. Leia kicks him out of the room, and then he plays with Lando in the lobby of the hospital. That would actually be kind of interesting. And then like maybe Lando, Han, and some of the other patients who are recovering, and like get a once in a lifetime chance to play Sabacc with Han Solo and Lando Calrissian, and or you've got the old timers or whatever. And that would have been a cool scene, but
I love it.
You could have kept it very close and been perfect. I remember seeing actually.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
There's also, if we're going to talk about things that are silly and stupid, but that we kind of just accept, then in Courtship of Princess Leia,
there's the mind
Han
rape gun.
He literally kidnaps Leia. However, when I read it, I wasn't going, this is so horrible, because the way it's written, I just go, oh,
it's
Han.
cheesy. Yeah,
Wolverine
made it like
it's
feels
like something Han would do. And
I have something to say about
that context.
That whole Han kidnapping Leia thing. It felt to me like Beth Revis, or I think that's her name, the author's name, who wrote The Princess and the Scoundrel, took a dig at Wolverton, and I threw it by some people, and I threw it by some people, and they're like, no, it doesn't seem like a dig, but to me it seemed like a dig. There's this one part where Han is thinking about maybe I should, maybe it'd be better to just kidnap Leia.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
a dig.
Right, and then I think the way it goes down is basically like, Leia would shoot him if he did that, right?
Yeah, I remember seeing Pablo virtue signaling on fucking Twitter about how far even the young reader novels have come from the age of the gun of command. I'm just like, oh, go fuck yourself, you helicopter dodging piece of shit. I probably shouldn't have said that on your stream.
I don't control what other people say on my streams. I just control myself.
He's
to me that seemed like a dig at Wolverton, and I didn't appreciate it, because Wolverton passed away earlier this year, and I just felt like, you know what, it was like 3 sentences that could have easily just been cut out of the book before it was published.
Yeah, that's needless needling. Now, you can do a dig at someone and be funny with it.
Right.
Like in Starfighters of Adamar has my favorite dig at KJA ever, which is Wes Jansen, the irresponsible one, is running around with the blast sword, and Hobby Clivian, the pessimist, is just, oh my god, don't give him another weapon. It's like giving a lightsaber to a 2-year-old. And then I read that the second time through, and I just, wait a minute. I look up the time difference between the Thrawn Trilogy and Jedi Academy. 2 years. Jason Solo was 2 years old when Luke half possessed him and gave him his fucking lightsaber to fight literal goddamn dragons.
Oh yeah.
Like these little 2-headed miniature King Ghidorahs, which that is what they're sometimes described as bird-like in other things, but the official art for them, they're King Ghidorah with 2 heads and only like 30 feet, 20, 30 feet long. They're tiny King Ghidorahs. And a literal fucking 2-year-old is fighting them. I'm like, I liked the adventure that he had the kids go on when they got lost in a lower level. That was really cute. But there's a step between that and fighting. Well, no, they also fight a dragon in fucking.
We're still talking about Jedi Academy though, right?
Yeah.
Was Luke not possessing?
He was half possessing him, but the possession was like not complete, and it's still high risk. But I mean, it's still less high risk than literally just letting him be eaten. But it still feels a little weird to give a lightsaber to a
Sure, but it's not like there's ever been rules to the whole ghost thing in Star Wars. It's always been inconsistent. I know. I don't mind that.
That's why it was a fun, lighthearted joke, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like, and you wouldn't notice it unless
Yeah.
you were like, wait a minute, how old was Jason when he picked up Luke's lightsaber in the Jedi Academy trilogy?
Yeah.
And if you know the behind the scenes drama kind of thing between the Holy Trinity and KJA and KJA's friends, like what's her name, Barbara Hambley.
Mhm.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
they definitely had a little drama there.
Well, what do you mean? What was the drama?
A lot of not exact of either outright retconning or soft retconning. Mostly they would soft retcon Hambley and KJA's work.
Right.
Not saying it never happened type stuff, but changing the context a little, like with iJedi, or undoing things, or having them be something that happened but something that ended. Quizux and Wedge Antilles putting him in
That's
Aiello, which I fully support, but I think as a peace offering, they should have had Quizux and Ghent from the Thrawn trilogy get together and be complete utter nerds together, because that would be adorable.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, I can
The
see
two
that
little
too.
autocons. Yeah.
The last
that
thing
would
I'll
be
say about Jedi Academy Trilogy is I will admit it is by no means a Stover or Lucino or type of novel. It's not the high tier standard of the EU
Yeah.
that we have.
Right.
But
there are so many good parts of it. I
It's
like
charming.
Silgo.
It is
like
it feels like Star Wars to me. It's
Yeah,
silly, but it feels like Star Wars.
I have to say, I think everyone likes Silgal because
Yeah, she's
Silgal's
great.
because they gave her I still don't. I guess they're also cousins, not sisters. But they gave Akbar another niece, and Alston gave him another niece because Akbar's niece is a great concept. I would have liked it if Silgal and Jesmine had been sisters and not cousins, but whatever. I don't think any author officially established that. That was established by sourcebook writers later on, but that they were only cousins and not sisters. I was going to say, what was the other thing? And they had Silgal officiate not just the Jedi wedding between Luke and Mara, but the full wedding in the Union comic.
Hmm.
And
When did the Jedi wedding take place?
It was also in the Union comic. They had like a double. They had a double
Right.
thing, like a private
to
one
read
with
that.
the rest of the
Yeah.
Jedi.
I forget so much about that comic because it's so forgettable.
Somebody I was watching, I think it was Eck and Corey did their review of it, and they're like, a lot of these seem like they're either heavily photo referenced, if not outright traced of actors. Like at some point, either Wes or Hobby was Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
Circa Men in Black or the Fugitive.
Yeah.
And that's the only one I remember. Although I must say, one of the blasters ended up looking a lot like the Imperial Heavy Repeater from Jedi Academy. Or Jedi Outcast.
I thought I was going to be done, but I also have to say Kip Duran is one of the best things that Kevin J. Anderson blessed us with. And the entire
Kip.
Hold on.
Like Kip.
I have to say my piece because next to Jason, he is my favorite Jedi post Return of the Jedi. And I love the story that Kevin does for him in this trilogy. I know people get mad because he's forgiven so easily, but you got to remember,
he was half possessed.
Yeah,
so
but people are like, oh, but the government, shouldn't they? But Luke is Luke. Luke has done a lot for the government. So if he says this is on me, if I'm taking responsibility. If he messes up again, that's on me. You have my word that he's not going to do any of this stuff again. So that carries a lot of weight coming from Luke Skywalker.
I'm going to say something that's a little bit undermined when you take into account Brackus, Kueller, and Desan, who he just lets run the fuck away.
Yeah.
Sure. And Desan had fucking murdered someone and ran the fuck away. Those were not by Kevin J.A. and they're not by Kip. But making the same mistake with Kip 3 more times. Admittedly, one was a video game, and the video game needs to have an antagonist. So, but I would have expected the lady who did A New Rebellion to maybe think of something else, so it doesn't seem like Luke just keeps fucking up and letting other people fall down the same path Kip did.
To be fair, everybody is their own person. It's not as if Luke can guarantee that everyone's not going to become dark side. He can only do his best and hope that people follow what he teaches.
But Desan at least literally killed another student and then ran away. That's the kind of the thing you put out an all points bulletin to the New Republic for.
That's true.
Yes, it might not be the best thing to send police who will probably just get killed after a Jedi, but you need to give some warning.
Yeah, I feel like
Um,
with Brackus, it's kind of justifiable because I think Luke wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt and he really thought that he could.
Brackets thought he could become better, and Kueller
Right.
technically nobody really knew Kueller's family had been murdered, but maybe follow up on some of your ex-students a little more frequently, Luke, please. If they leave, especially under circumstances where they seem a little glum on the way out, or if they disappear without telling you, follow up, please. They could
That's
use a
fair.
little therapy.
Blue
But-
Pig had a comment. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was like, back to Kip. The
Yeah.
ending with the key of Star Wars for me, the thing that is kind of the central theme of it all is forgiveness.
Yeah.
And so
It's
I
true.
appreciate
True.
Kip's story because he spends the rest of his life atoning for
Trying.
his sins, even though it's
Mind
not
you,
entirely
some of his
fault.
atoning does end up causing other problems down the line,
Sure.
but that's just part of his
But
nature.
Kip is always
He's a wreck.
right in New Jedi Order.
Not always. He's sometimes wrong, but
He's
he's
mostly
more
right.
often he's more often right. I have
Yeah.
to say, Jason, speaking of always right in the New Jedi Order, Jason has the dubious honor of probably getting more people murdered brutally as a Jedi than he ever did as a Sith. Talking Anakin out of using center point, I'm going to say basically every casualty in the war after that day is Jason's fault.
He was always the Sith
almost-
Lord.
Almost none of them would die if that's the thing. And I remember seeing other people saying, okay, fire it once and then disable it. No, I say do not disable it. Stay on board. Kick your crazy uncle off the ship because you don't want him to hijack it. But stay on board, Anakin, and anytime a fleet shows up, you blow it the fuck away.
Yeah, just destroy all those world ships.
Maybe not the world ships; those do have civilians on them. But any of the smaller fleets, well, at the time they didn't know world ships had civilians on them, but they had to. They had kind of realized that this is a migratory species, so they must have non-combatants somewhere. So maybe they wouldn't destroy the biggest ships because those are the most likely to have enough space for a civilian population. But anything smaller than a world ship and big enough that you can aim the gun at it safely, blow it the fuck up. You have a weapon that can hit theoretically anywhere in the galaxy. The Vong had a theory that if they kept a sun between themselves and Corellia, they would be safe, which may have been true, may have not been true. A sun or a planet that they could hide behind it. That may have been true. But that may have just been because when Thraken fired it, it formed a beam. When Thraken fired it, it formed a beam. And Jason might have been able to just create a black hole at any point in space that he wanted to without having to have a straight line of continuous destruction the entire line from Corellia all the way out. So maybe the Vong would have been interesting. Like make the Vong correct. Anakin can't shoot them if they're hiding behind a sun.
This is why Jason pissed me off until Traitor, and then he became my favorite then on forward. But before that, he pissed me off every second of the way. It's such a crazy journey with Jason, which is why I love him so much. Because I found him.
He killed more people as a Jedi than he did as a Sith.
Yeah, I found him adorable in Young Jedi Knights, and I found him absolutely insufferable for the first half of NGO, and then Traitor onward, he just improved for me as a character.
Did that extend to Legacy of the Force, Alex?
That does even okay. So Legacy of the Force is his descent, but his character to me is still less annoying.
That's an interesting thing I recently realized about NJO, about Swarmore and NJO, Jason Denny versus Jason. He's really a study on all the people who say, well, if the Jedi had just let Anakin have his family, things would have been fine. No, they really wouldn't have. He would have ended up like Jason.
Twisted.
He still had a lot of problems.
There is this one scene in Fate of the Jedi Abyss where they visit him in I think it was like the pool of reflection or pool of knowledge or something like that, and he talks to Luke and Ben, and he's basically like, I'm not sorry for what I did. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
he's dead and they visit him.
Yeah,
no, so there's
it's a manifestation.
It's like not a Force ghost. It's like this thing where he can like appear. I don't know how to explain it. It's not. It's not alive
mind
again.
you, this is obviously it's the EU. It's before Lucas decided no, Darksiders don't get to be ghosts.
Right.
Well, he wasn't a ghost. It was something
Yeah,
else.
I know. But
cool.
Lucas is like Darksiders go away completely after they die, and then
well, the Legacy comics also contradict that.
Yeah,
we see Darth Bane, we see Darth Nihilus for some reason.
No, I mean, Tales of the Jedi. We already had
Freed and
Sith
Nad,
spirits.
yeah.
Although Sith spirits had serious limitations that true Force ghosts didn't. They needed to possess something in order to move through real space. They were trapped. Additionally, Mandalorian iron might have been able to hold them in. I was actually kind of shocked to learn Karen Traviss was not the one who made Mandalorian iron lightsaber resistant, and even she didn't bring up the fact that it might also be force resistant, because Freed Nad's tomb was made of Mandalorian iron, and that might have been part of what kept his spirit from roaming too far.
Right.
Additionally, although it might have just been to keep somebody from getting close enough to him to be possessed, and if once you're possessed, he could take
that
anywhere.
Too.
He might have just had a literal physical distance, and the Mandalorian iron was like 10 feet further than he could travel. But if somebody went through the iron and got to the other side, then they'd be possessed, and then they could take him anywhere. But there was also in the Essential Guide to Planets and Locations, or Planets and Moons. It's in one of the old Essential Guides. For Mercure, there was a scientific theory that there was Mandalorian iron on Mercure, or the trees originally were transplanted from a world of Mandalorian iron, and by soaking it up with their roots, and then the Ysalamiri soaking it up from the tree, that's how they got their force resistance.
Right.
Which means that at least scientists in the Star Wars universe thought that Mandalorian iron was force resistant. And I applaud Karen Traviss's restraint for not having it literally work like Magneto's fucking helmet. In addition to being, lightsaber resistant.
This idea that Force ghosts though aren't when you're a Darksider, you can't come back as a Force ghost. Even the Disney canon ignores that idea.
Yeah, the Disney canon tried to keep it at first.
Yeah.
And then immediately threw it out with that comic with the possessed helmet.
Lord Momin, yeah.
Although they tried to say like he's not a ghost, it's a time thing. I'm just like,
but it also it's
just a set spirit with extra stuff.
In Shadow of the Sith, which is one of the newer novels that just came out this year, there's another Darksider that basically possesses someone through the use of a dark side mask, and
that's the thing. Like Momin and the other man, like I know George wanted it. I know that even Dave was willing to go along with him on it and make the Yoda thing where he basically says Darth Bane's ghost, "You're not real. This is just the normal, the wills, the shaman ladies fucking with me." And that was what George, mind you, George changed his mind about this a lot. He stamped okay. He read the comics. Like, he would read the comics. He didn't read the novels all the time. He read like Zahn's novels and summaries of everyone else's. But he would read the comics a lot. And so he was perfectly fine with that shit in Dark Empire. He was fine with it in Tales of the Jedi. He changed his mind later, as he always does.
Yeah. George is a very
inconsistent
inconsistent man.
Which is fine. It's metaphysics, and metaphysics are very deeply tied to your own like actual real life spiritual beliefs. So, and he's got that weird Episcopalian Buddhist weirdness of him. I actually don't know what branch of Protestant he was before, but yeah.
I'm not going to tell the creator of Star Wars that he's wrong about the Force, because far be it from me.
I'm going to say I really wish you'd stop changing your mind so often.
Right.
You have every right to change your mind whenever you want, but I kind of wish you.
It shouldn't be so often, George.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me that a Darksider could transcend their mortal shackles as much as a Lightsider could, because it's all part of the Force.
I like that it was two different ways and very different limitations on them. Like, by learning to let go, you actually get to hang on in a way that is like truly transcendent. Whereas when the Darksider does it, they are clinging to something.
Yeah, they can't.
It's kind of pathetic the way that they do it.
Right.
And
they're more of ghosts in the way that people think about ghosts. Those who do believe in ghosts in real life thing. Like, even I'm religious. I don't believe in ghosts, but for those who get into all that, like the Ghost Adventures, Zach Bagans, and all that, like Sith ghosts are kind of more like that, whereas the Jedi ghosts are a lot different in that regard. So because the Sith ghosts are kind of trapped in
Yeah,
to be
exactly.
dwelled
They're
among
just
the
afraid
living.
of moving on.
Yeah, they can't move on, whereas the
Although,
light side Jedi
although I
can.
have to say, I'd probably lean towards Sith on that because they've gone for this increasingly Buddhist. You kind of just mold into a collective consciousness, and you no longer have a sense of self separate from the whole.
That's right.
That's true.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, no, I don't like that either.
If you go by Elder Scrolls, I am very, very, very fucking pedomaic in that sense.
I'm not familiar with that term.
Yeah,
Padme.
what's that? I just heard the first part. I was like, ooh.
That's an Elder Scrolls thing. It's Anu and
Yeah.
Padme, and it's like everyone is either the collective goo or they. Padme is basically defined as is not, and Sithis and all that. It is the definition of A is not B. You know, it's the borderline between the difference of things. At least that's how I've always understood it.
Fair enough.
So I am not down for this whole end of Evangelion fucking eternal Tang bullshit.
Wow, what a reference. End of Evangelion. Where they all just meld into the human instrumentality.
Exactly. That's basically dying in Star Wars, and I am not okay with that.
Yeah, you're right though, because there was that from a certain point of view. They do it for each of the original trilogy movies. I don't think the Return of the Jedi one came out yet, but in A New Hope, they have a story where Qui-Gon basically manifests and starts talking to Obi-Wan, and in that scene, Qui-Gon doesn't even really remember who he is until he fully manifests. This idea that he's getting like that his individuality is getting pulled out of this collective goo.
That's not cool to me.
Yeah, me neither. I hate that idea.
That sounds like a terrible fate.
Yeah, both in real life and in Star Wars. So
yeah.
That was a fairly late thing in Legends. Like some Book of Sith and Book of the Jedi had that.
Right.
Like, and those were very late. Those were like, I think Book of the Jedi might have come out after the buyout, but Ben's still Legends, one way or the other. I know the Imperial Source Book and Bounty Hunter Wars were right on the border too. I didn't like it. Did not like. Shoot, I was gonna say I had an idea I was gonna talk about.
I can, while you think about it, I can talk about Pig's comment earlier about what is happening with the skiing at the start of Dark Apprentice. Yeah, it felt kind of weird. It felt very non-Star Warsy, but they explain it. Han basically wants to bring Kip into
the family.
Right, into the family.
Which, I just realized something. Jared Solo, or whatever his fucking name was.
Right, from the AC Crispin.
Crispin might have been intending to like give Han a background of this younger brother, almost son he already had once, and this is like a second chance.
Exactly.
I just realized that was what Crispin was probably doing, and that's fucking genius. God, I wish
AC Crispin's. I wish so too. She was so good. I wish she wrote more.
Crispin and Alston dying within a year of each other, not in the same calendar year, but within like 6 months of each other. That was really sad.
Yeah, that sucks.
I think that was probably one of the worst 6 months for Star Wars.
Now they lost some great people.
Yeah. And shoot, that does remind me of like, she was also doing like a lot of that with Veitch, like trying to explain what happened where the Imperial warlords finally reunited for a brief moment and then fell against each other with so much violence that it was the worst the Imperial Civil War had been since the first couple weeks. Like the Imperial Civil War, once after Palpatine fell, had 2 seriously bad times. Ironically, both of them marked by a Super Star Destroyer ramming a torpedo sphere. If I had a nickel for every time a Super Star Destroyer rammed a torpedo sphere, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. At the Battle of Tralles, right pretty shortly after like Jedi Prince and the end of the at the end of Endor, it was not too long after that in the Corellian system that happened, and that was one of the biggest battles that the Empire's forces ever had against each other. And then right before Dark Empire, you see the tail end of it in Dark Empire, but the source books go on about how it was even worse and how there was a torpedo sphere ramming.
Was that in the Essential Guide to Warfare?
I think it was Warfare and the Atlas further outlined just how badly it's that phase of the Civil War is called the Imperial Mutiny. And like they were saying that this was Palpatine deliberately, like he drove his own admirals insane because he didn't want admirals anymore. He wanted a dark side theocracy instead of the old way the Empire was. So he drove his admiral. He ramped up their ambition, which I think Crispin had talked to Veitch about that idea, because that's what he did to Sarn Shield, convincing Shield to bite off more than he can chew with the Hutts, while also ordering his own admiral to throw the fight and make Shield look like a fool. And I think that was supposed to be the same thing.
What's crazy to me is that the Empire never actually ends. It extends all the way to Legacy.
I've heard a lot of people say they don't like that, and I can understand that. I kind of like the idea of ending it peacefully with the Empire.
I do like that too, which they did.
I always thought that they would get annexed into the Galactic Alliance, but then I read Legacy, and of course,
and then they somehow managed to kind of retain. They retained more independence in the Galactic Alliance than most other signatories did somehow.
Revan died, but are you okay?
Oh boy, I'm just gonna. I've had a persistent cough for the past 3
months.
I'm
sorry, but I was gonna say. Yeah, Rip Revan, I don't know what happened. But there is so much potential for stories after Crucible leading up to Legacy, because clearly something happened between that time that made the Empire fall away from
the Alliance. I mean, they were already like a tenuous member. I mean, even in Legacy and stuff, they already had a lot of independence where they could kind of act however they wanted during the Jason thing. Although I fucking hate, like, I feel like Travis was actually told, look, you picked Mara kind of for this, and people are pissed at you, so you have to kill a character that you like, and I think that's why they had to kill Pelion, because she fucking loves Pelion. Like, everyone loves Pelion, but
everybody loves Pelion because Pelion's one of the best characters in the entire EU.
He's the old man of the Navy, and I like that.
Oh my gosh! So
there's a historical saying I just wanted to go into that. Yeah. The Prussian Empire was not a state with a military; it was a military with a state. The Imperial remnant under Pelion was a navy with a state. After he gets fed up enough with the Moffs after losing Bastion, he just says, if you don't throw in with this war completely, I am taking the fucking navy and going, because they follow me, not you. Which is why I didn't mind. I don't blame Travis for having him die. I believe she was basically told, this is kind of an equivalent exchange. You have to kill off a character that you like to show that this isn't just you taking out a grudge against Jedi. And it had to be Pelion because he was kind of the only one that.
And it has to be a long life, though. At least he was 86 in that book.
Yeah. But the thing is, 91, I think.
91. Yeah.
But I think having him die and then the Imperials continue to follow Jason.
Yeah.
And the Moff.
Well, they plotted against him.
Yeah, but the actual crews of the ships, they fucking worshipped that man. He was like everyone's dad, and they fucking murdered the man who had led them through horrors.
That's true.
And that's not what would have happened. This dude had had serious hero worship going on.
That's true.
Although that reminds me, I really fucking loved the TCW tie-in that she did. No Prisoners.
Oh, I was going to talk about that because I found it so funny when Pelion basically tells Ahsoka to stop dressing like a skank and to put on some clothes when you're on my ship.
That actually wasn't just to show his character or to take out frustration at the show. It played a role in the plot later.
It did.
When Jyn Altus needed to commit a serious war crime, I will add, what he did was a fucking war crime. But having her disguised as a human by wrapping her head, if she wasn't already wearing the full jumpsuit from the Navy, because he wanted to protect his family, Blue Pig. Basically, it's basically just saying if you think, honestly, he should have killed his fucking grandmother-in-law years ago.
Yeah,
I think his grandmother-in-law and his uncle should have been forced to marry each other and then thrown in an escape pod and shot into hyperspace like the guy from Black Fleet Crisis as their
freaking
honeymoon.
hate Tino Ka's grandma. She's the worst.
Yeah, Tenejil Joe and no, that's
Ta'ashum.
Tachume.
Yeah, Tashume.
Tachume and Thrak and Sal Solo are just like, how have you not been fucking killed yet?
Yeah.
Characters you love to hate.
Blue Pig, his descent starts in Dark
in
Nest,
Dark
but he's
Nest,
not evil by the end of Dark Nest. I argue he's not even evil for most of Legacy of the Force. It takes for book 5 for him to finally like take on that full like Sith mantle.
And they have
the first 5 for the first 5 books, he's like, am I actually? He's kind of going back to his like Jason pre-traitor, where he's like, am I actually go through with it? Am I actually? I mean, I like it, but like he's really debating it for the first 5 books.
That's fair
he's
enough.
Not actually a villain.
I still don't like it, and
that's fair.
Like I think basically everything after NGO was kind of doomed by killing Anakin, and I wish they had found another way to follow George's order. Personal theory. Just trap him in Centerpoint. Like have Centerpoint Station literally just eat him for a little while it heals itself or something. And then he gets out later once George is no longer saying, look, we can't have 2 Anakins at the same time. It'll confuse the kids buying the toys.
I like Legacy of the Force, but I understand why people have a lot of grievances with it.
I like it too. But I wanted to get back to, on the topic of Anakin and of Jason and his family and Anakin, my favorite part of what do you call it? The Travis book that I just said, No Prisoners, was Jyn Altus talking to Anakin.
Yes.
You see a lot of people saying Anakin would be sorted out if he ever talked to Jolie Bindo from KOTOR.
Yeah.
Jyn Altus was basically
I even said that.
Jyn Altus was Jolie Bindo. In fact, he was better than Jolie Bindo because Jolie Bindo's love fell to the dark side herself, and he never really got her back. Jyn Altus raised potentially hundreds of students, not all. He said thousands of students, but most of them probably weren't actually Jedi. They were just people who he kind of taught his philosophy to.
Yeah.
And he was probably arguably even better than suited than Jolie Bindo to try and talk Anakin out, and he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
There was just he said, you got to understand this difference when you're ready for attachment. Think, what would you do if she left or she was hurt? Like, what would you do in that situation? Could you let her go, or let them go? He didn't know who it was, because Anakin, unlike in the fucking stupid one where he tells Corrin's grandfather, he kept his fucking mouth shut, which is correct. They both knew what was going on, but he never named names or even sex. So
I'd even make the connection in Jedi Trial. I don't know how I missed this. I didn't even realize that Holocron is supposed to be related
Halcyon,
to Corrin. I didn't realize that, or Halcyon. I didn't realize. And then I watched Meg reviews talk about it. I was like, oh, I never caught that. So I guess it's not a dumb move on my part.
No Prisoners was basically exactly what Jedi Trial already should have done. Except the thing is, like, the Corellians also are a schismatic Jedi group, and apparently Jedi Trial doesn't go over that at all, because he's just a normal Jedi who's also hiding a family. Yeah. Even though Corellians don't fucking hide their family, they publicly give them coins when they get medallions. So they are a schismatic order, and that was never really gone into. Everything he said in that, for someone who hates Jedi, she actually did an incredibly good job in that scene, and I 100% love it.
I do. Also, No Prisoners is great.
She also basically made him look like Jolie Bindo by accident, basically, because the planet they were on was mostly black humans. In fact, pretty much entirely black humans, but with blonde hair, usually. Or a lot of them with blonde hair. Anime humans, basically.
Yeah.
As I think Wooly Versus said, it's the race that only exists in anime, black people with blonde hair. Which isn't exactly entirely true. There are places in Africa like that. But,
I think Travis is a good writer. She's just very preachy with stuff that she believes to be true. Yes. So, like, I don't know if she actually hates...
Yes, she does. She talks about, like, thinking they're spoonbenderists and theocrats, and she had friends who died in, like, Middle East wars, and she doesn't like religious government and all of that.
Okay. So she is a good writer, I think I can say, because I've read most of her books. I don't love all of them, but I don't think any of them are written badly. It's just that she shoves her, besides the last couple Republic Commando books.
Yeah.
But
I've heard nothing good about her Legacy of the Force era stuff either, so I
like her
I haven't
Legacy
read
of the
it
Force
yet,
books.
but
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
think
like
they're the
it too.
best. I think they're the best thing she's written. I think they're better than Republic Commando.
I would say the parts of Republic Commando not directly related to the love scenes are to the romance are
No,
outstanding.
I don't even necessarily hate the romance in Republic Commando either. It's just that it's rushed. That's my biggest issue with it.
It's
After
rushed, and there are serious issues of consent, which it's all right to have flawed characters, but that flaw's a little bit creepy.
It is, but I'm just like.
Then again,
not
it's not
the
fair
worst
to completely rag on that after just having defended Wolverton. So
thing.
Yeah.
to a bit to each their own.
Yeah.
But they had a
No,
good.
everybody pretty much says that the first one's fine. It's after that where people start having issues with the series.
I like basically the first 3.5, halfway through Order
Yeah.
66.
Order
where
66 just
I feel like she
everybody's
killed
getting married.
I feel like she killed Etain off specifically because people on the forums have been accusing her of being a self-insert, and she wanted to prove otherwise. You just went mute.
I've heard that a lot. You've said that too.
Oh no, your video's just out of line. Your video's just out of sync. That's why I keep thinking you're muted.
Oh,
no worries. Don't worry.
Sorry. Maybe it's because my internet sucks.
It's better that your video be out of sync than you sound like fucking R2D2 trying to talk to us. So
I guess.
Oh yeah.
But I will say also Cal Scarata is just short. Is just Clint Eastwood but short.
I love Cal Scarata. He's my favorite
Cal Scarata
part.
is Clint Eastwood, but he's short.
Short,
and Waylon Vow is
Republic
basically
Commando.
a cross between the two appearances of what's his name? Lee Van Cleef in the Dollars
You also
trilogy.
commented this on my video.
Yes, I know. I've commented this, but there's other people in this chat now.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying I remember that you talked about it.
But he's basically a cross between Angel Eyes and Colonel Mortimer from the Dollars trilogy, who were played by the same man as two different characters, because that's not a real fucking trilogy. Clint Eastwood is a different character in every single one of those books, of those films, but whatever. But yeah, he's a slightly more heroic version of Angel Eyes, if you've ever seen The Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
You know, Blue
Except he doesn't have a mustache.
It's not even as cool as you think. Order 66 doesn't even really deal with Order 66 to the last like chunk of the book, like the last 60 pages, I want to say.
Yeah, it's about the lead up.
It's
about her characters using accounting skills to almost uncover Order 66 before it happens.
I did like that. I like that aspect.
Yeah, I'm like, I know Matt Wilkins didn't like it, but I actually kind of liked it.
Yeah, I like.
Just like there's going to be a paper trail if you know what to look for.
Yeah, and I thought that was actually really interesting. My biggest issue is that I didn't mind some of the romances, but by Order 66, everybody's getting married, everybody's falling in love, and it just felt ridiculous, and a lot of it felt pointless. And then Etain dies, which I mean, I never loved her anyway, but it just it
felt and then Cal just manages to kill 2 Jedi because he's that angry. Which I guess they were shocked because they realized they just killed one of their own. And
that was another thing. At first, I was confused. At first, I was like, "Oh, did Travis actually do something interesting?" Because I thought at first a clone was going to shoot a Jedi kid, and so she went to block the Jedi kid, and then died.
She tried.
She
tried to save both of them. Basically, she was trying to save both of them, and you can't. You have to pick a side. Or maybe she did pick a side. It's been a while. Maybe she did side with the clone. I don't know. I haven't read Order 66.
I don't know.
I just stopped at 2.
Yeah.
I just stopped at True Colors every time. Also, Order 66 contradicts the game because it has her taking over as the advisor. So unless she threw on complete clone armor and had... I actually think the advisor was D. Bradley Baker. Even though boss was Tamora Morrison. But your advisor was Baker, I think. And so unless she could do a Kiwi accent and was putting on full armor, she was not the one talking to Delta Squad while they were on Kashyyyk.
There's a character named Bethany, and she's like an accountant or something. I kind of forget.
Yeah, she was an accountant whose co-worker was a terrorist, and like the clones were investigating him, and she found. She ended up investigating
the economics of it.
Yeah, and
She
then she
started looking
found
into the
some interesting.
economics of the war, and
Yeah,
was
the
like, "This
clones were
isn't
like,
adding up."
"There's not enough of us. Why are we winning?" Or there's more. There seems to be more of us than there are officially, which I think was her walking back her earlier arguments about there being only 3 million.
Yeah.
You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like in
Which
the Thrawn
even then,
novel. And
people are like, "Oh,
I did like the Sparty cloning, so I don't know which
oh
book that
yeah,
was, but she
she."
included that. I was really
Yeah,
happy about that.
yeah, she worked that in, and Zahn had his little short story about them. Like they were trying to integrate them in as like
Yeah,
a
and
late war thing to
the
make them faster.
whether you love or hate the Callista trilogy, I was pretty happy to see her be included in the
Yes,
series. So
I liked her stuff too. Like there's always that, although there's always that she did tend to use them as an oh if only thing a little
yeah,
bit,
that's fair.
which I didn't like how she used them in Republic Commando as kind of oh because with Republic Commando they could have just gone with the Callista sect and been fine. Like if
Yeah.
Etain had left with Callista's people earlier, she would have been fine. In fact, it's like
Have you read Hand of Thrawn 45?
no, like you said, he maintains
Yeah.
Darman's characterization, which I thought was so out
No.
of line that like unless you literally explain it as there was an Inquisitor in there fucking with his mind with the Force, I legit can't. Like I said, he was trying to hold to canon, but I think that canon was breaking itself so badly at that point that you almost have to find another excuse to say why he's so fucking out of his mind. And I
I
think
enjoyed it.
I would have thrown in fucking an Inquisitor, an early Inquisitor messing with his mind, and just said fuck it
I
because
enjoyed getting to see the. I mean, I know it's not canon to Legends, but I did like seeing an what if of actually getting to see Callista be turned into the machine we see in Children of the
yes,
Jedi. I thought that was really
yes,
nice.
yes. And
this
how
I
what did he
there,
do once
Oh,
they broke up
Reverend
after the attack? Oh,
was going to say
yeah,
something. Sorry.
yeah, I was gonna
sorry.
before we move off the topic, there's this idea of using accounting to find out Order
Hello?
66. Yeah, can you hear me?
It says he's talking, but I don't hear him.
Oh,
I
You mute
hear
him?
him. No,
okay.
I hear him. It's
Okay.
I
Let me
don't know. Maybe it's you.
try again.
Anyways,
Oh, there it
yeah, can
is.
you hear me now? Yeah, okay. Maybe I've been talking this entire time and you haven't heard me. You haven't heard a single thing that I've said. But anyways, there's this idea of clone, or rather them discovering Order 66 through accounting. We have something similar that they stole in the Disney canon where Thrawn figures out that they're building the Death Star by looking at thing like material that's being ordered.
Unium,
And
which
yeah,
of all the materials to bring back from Legends, Dunium is just
Dunium.
such a fucking stupid word that I wish they had figured out something else as a metal hardening additive, or as like a super metal additive that turns Durasteel into something worthy of being a ship hull. Like,
Yeah.
please, why Dunium? It's such a bad word. Havid, which was the alternative, which is what the Crimson Command is Victory Star Destroyers are made of. That's a cool word. Dunium is fucking stupid. It sounds like doozy bots. Fucking god awful attempt to bring Gundam designs over to America in the stupidest possible way.
You say that, and I also always thought Count Dooku was a stupid name.
Yes, it sounds like poop, but it works because it's Christopher Lee, and if you tried to say his name sounded like somebody taking a poop, he'd kill you. And no one would hear you scream because he knows how to do that.
Saruman
feel
is
like-
also kind of stupid, but
Yeah.
he does
What?
it well. Saruman, I think, is kind of a stupid name.
Saruman.
Saruman? Yeah, but
Saruman.
the language in Lord of the Rings is completely worked out, and there's a reason for every name. I just don't know what it is because I'm not a complete linguistics nerd the way Tolkien was. God
Yeah.
bless his soul.
Yeah, that's fair.
People go to university to study Tolkien. So
Yes. I mean, he was a professor, but he apparently didn't like professoring very much towards the end.
Apparently.
Like I've heard stories that he would basically talk to the blackboard and not face the students, so you'd really have to lean in. The way Oxford was set up at the time, you had to try to run a class, but if everyone quit, you'd still get paid. So he would basically try to drive his students out of his class.
Yeah.
And so he could go back to making up Elvish fucking genealogy trees and all of that.
Yeah.
And another language.
And like 3 more languages. Oh, what if I mashed together Hebrew and Old Norse? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Which is actually what Dwarven is.
Yeah.
Dwarven is just Hebrew and Old Norse mashed together, apparently, or general Semitic
Yeah.
grammar rules, like Arabic and Aramaic and all of that are also in the same family. So that's not exactly, it's not specifically Hebrew, but it's a mix. So yeah, so God bless him.
I do.
Shoot, we
Do
were
PM.
on. Oh God, but
we were on. What were we on?
the accounting. The accounting
On Count
stuff,
Dooku being stupid.
But,
yes.
but I think you were talking about Hanathron 45 before I.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, but yeah, I like the idea. It's just I don't have it in me to be sad these days. So.
What about you? Ever gonna check out his Sword of the Jedi? Since we're probably never getting an actual one.
I might. I also have to check it. Noah's the one who was doing the Jedi Prince thing, wasn't he?
Yes, he is.
Or was that
He is.
Yeah, I might have to check
doing
out
a
Noah's
conclusion
Jedi
to it.
too.
I definitely recommend it. I read it. It was pretty good. So
Although speaking of Star Wars children's novels and Hebrew, apparently the guy who wrote Galaxy of Fear is a Krav Maga instructor.
That's a perfect advertisement.
Which is
his name's like John Whitman or something like that.
Yeah,
John Whitman is
like,
his name,
and he just teaches like Israeli commando martial arts, which I don't know why they didn't call it jujitsu.
Yeah. That name was already taken when they went to the copyright office.
That's an excellent laugh. That you sounded like Chucky there. That was amazing.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it was a joke. That joke I got from South Park. I'm just like, why didn't I saw that in South Park? I'm just, why didn't they name Krav Maga that? But
Matt Wilkins loves that Galaxy of Fear guy. He constantly
so
says that guy read the EU. Like he obviously knew the EU.
You can tell when you read that young adult series.
Okay,
you can see it.
The first novel, not much EU stuff. It's got a HUD. Sure. It's got. Although I think Hoole actually predates this. Hoole, I think anthropologist Hoole was mentioned in Guides to the Galaxy that Kevin J. Anderson and God, who was the concept art guy? The one that Rebels based all of its art on. McQuarrie, Ralph McQuarrie.
Ralph McQuarrie.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, you know that there was a book that Kevin J. Anderson and Ralph McQuarrie made with McQuarrie art being given,
right?
You know, an in-universe guide to it, which those books were heavily referenced by. I think Hoole came up in that book at least once, which would make sense because the story on Dagobah in Galaxy of Fear is based on those books where it's the children of the expedition who got trapped on Dagobah and died are in that, which makes Yoda a fucking monster, by the way. He just lets these children get eaten by monsters and resort to cannibalism. Like, what the fuck,
he doesn't do
dude?
anything. Well, because he's in hiding. He doesn't want to do anything.
He doesn't do anything until the fucking force-sensitive kid shows up.
Yeah.
Just like, what the fuck, you little green bastard?
It's the way of life. It's the circle of life, like they say.
Yeah,
in the Lion King, and he's not
letting children descend into horror and cannibalism. I'm just like, maybe Mr. Whitman, maybe you shouldn't have made making Yoda the monster of the greatest monster in your horror.
I love that cannibalism was included in a children's book. It makes me very happy.
It was the Goosebumps era. It was the Goosebumps era. There was a lot of cannibalism.
I don't even think Goosebumps went that far though.
Yeah, it did. A lot of cannibalism. There was one about like the meatloaf or blah blah blah.
Okay, but I don't know if it was like that graphic.
Yeah,
it got pretty graphic in
I'm just like,
one.
But he did everything. There was Platt Millar from the Western Games stuff,
right? There was we had Dr. Evazan return.
Dr. Evazan, yeah, but he was like I was gonna say the first 2 books are movie characters. Dr.
Isn't
Evazan,
Jarek is in it, isn't he?
Jarek is in it, yes,
in it. That's crazy.
And Jarek is up against Jarek is up against the temporarily separated wife of the hammerhead who's in
Moma Nadon.
Yeah, Moma Nadon.
Yeah. I'm actually uploading my review of the first 6 books tomorrow, so we'll plug in there.
Wonderful. Yeah.
How timely.
So yeah,
Yeah.
which means I commented on Wilkins, like, this means that the thing where Nadon finally gets to go back to Ithor has to be after these books, because he's still not out of exile yet. When Jarek shows up and tries to get the virus or whatever it is, or the mold or whatever it is.
Ghost Fish, I actually saw that comment the other day. I was
Oh,
reading
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yes. I'm just like, oh, I didn't know he'd been allowed back. Although, speaking of Ithor, you know what? Who should have been a hero at when Ithor was burning? Drub motherfucking McCumb, the guy from Children of the Jedi, who burns out his brains on drugs to overcome the mind control of Space Joffrey, the Ismarans,
Right.
and to escape and warn Han that someone is trying to kill him and his family and Children of the Jedi. That guy should have been healed, or not completely healed, and just grab the controls of an escape shuttle and save a bunch of people on Ithor. That would have been fucking cool as hell. Like him paying them back for healing his mind after he ended up on Ithor to warn Han. That would have been really cool. I would like to.
It's
I got to try and write a fanfic about that at some point.
missed opportunity for sure.
Yeah. I mean, which is the thing is, like, Stackpole read a lot of read other stuff too. He was pretty good about it. He wasn't like Alston or Crispin or whatever, but he was better than Zahn at referencing stuff that he didn't write.
Yeah.
And that
Zahn.
includes Zahn would reference West End games and his own stuff, and sometimes Stackpole, and
Stackpole.
sometimes
That's it.
Alston.
Mainly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Alston too.
Mhm.
There's a reason they're called the Trinity. Although he dramatically underused Kel, which is unfortunate. But Kel
Yeah, he
couldn't
did.
really advance as a character until he got over that thing in flying. But
Well, that's just an issue of the Rebellion era in general. Nobody
Yeah.
can develop because all the development comes from the.
Yeah.
That's just something I talk about multiple times as I'm uploading the Rebellion era reviews, is because when you look at the Clone Wars, right? We had stories that focused on Anakin and stuff, but like we also had characters who were in the movies who had no character, and they were able to develop to become something. You could do that because they're not a focal point in the movie. And then you even have
That's
Jedi
true.
Apprentice. It's like you see the end point of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, but there's a lot of room for that development. And even less so with Jedi Quest, but you have that 10-year gap to show how they went from, how they were in episode 1 to the bickering to that they are in episode 2.
The friendly bickering in episode 2.
Yeah,
but
right.
in the Rebellion era, we pretty much every story, it's no other person does anything. It's only Han, Luke, and Leia.
Or if they are any existing EU character, they're a major one like the Horns or Kel, Tainer, or Winter or something, and they can't really advance.
Because all that advancement comes down the line. So they're just at this stagnant place where you can't really do anything
with Kel is they paired Kel with Winter. They're both from Alderaan, and she's the one with the perfect memory. So really anything you could do with him, well, he's not from Alderaan, but he moved there and he'd lived there for most of his life after his father got killed by Wes Jansen. So that reminds me of two things. I wanted to say, speaking of things, I know that you guys shit on Choices of One, and Wilkins does too.
I mean, I like it more than Allegiance. I think Allegiance is a piece of garbage.
Choices of One does what... I won't spoil it because it's fucking great. But Choices of One does what they should have done with Side Trip.
What did it do?
With Side Trip and the helmets and all of that, and what's his name? But well, if he's read Side Trip, he knows what I'm talking about too. So that doesn't really help.
Yeah, I appreciate the no spoilers because I haven't read it yet, and it's on my list to read this year.
It's really good. I skip ahead to it. It's one of those things you shouldn't read without. You should read before you get spoiled. But yes, they do the twist well, and I wish Side Trip had done a twist. Well, there's a twist. That's all I can say. But Side Trip tells you what the twist is from the beginning, and there were enough hints splintered throughout Side Trip, like when they go past the art museum, and if you know what the who ran the ad monitor, I mean, you know what's going to happen. And Side Trip should have kept that as a surprise. And it wouldn't have been a surprise because people would have figured it out and thought they were smart. And letting the audience think they're smart makes them like your book more.
I get what you're saying, but I don't know. There's a big portion of it where I just don't care about everything with Thrawn. I am absolutely for. Everything else sucks in that book.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying, you dropped the T word. Well, I mean, it's clear that Thrawn is in there. He's openly in there.
It's on the character persona
Yeah,
page.
true.
It's not a
Thrawn
spoiler.
You know what? Thrawn is to Zahn what like Ahsoka is to Filoni.
Yeah.
Okay, so I expect.
Ironically,
so that was
I
the
think
spoiler. I'm sorry. I thought that was common knowledge.
Well, it is common knowledge.
I'm not shocked.
I've forgotten how long that it's been that Thrawn. Yeah, Thrawn is very publicly in that book. Now that I think about it, it was the.
I'm not terribly shocked. So.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I think of his characters, I think that Talon Card is actually his favorite character of his own characters.
I mean, Talon Card should be his favorite character.
There's a reason
he's probably the best character he created.
And the reason,
Right?
and Talon Card's literally based on a picture of Timothy Zahn and a lot of art.
Yeah, I've seen that picture.
For the car, the one they had Stackpole play. Stackpole should have been like they should not have had Stackpole play Corrin. They should have had Stackpole play Halhorn. They should have had Stackpole play Corrin's dad because he's way too fucking old to be Corrin Horn. Especially sitting next to a young Mara Jade and young-ish Timothy Zahn as Talon Card. But
yeah.
The funny thing is, Timothy Zahn had a mustache that looks kind of like Hulk Hogan's. And I saw the art of the comic version of Heir to the Empire and whatnot, where they gave that mustache and general look to Talon Card. So for the longest time, I read Talon Card as fucking Hulk Hogan in my mind.
I listened to the audiobooks. I listened to the audiobook, so I got the Antonio Banderas voice stuff.
Yeah. The unabridged audiobooks by is great. Did you know that the abridged one, Mark Thompson? Did you know that the abridged one was by fucking Wedge and 3PO? Anthony Daniels and Dennis Lawson did the abridged version of Heir to the Empire.
Weird.
The very first abridged version.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I definitely prefer. I mean, I've heard Rebel Thrawn, so I can speak on this. I'm not talking about his character in Rebels.
I like Mark Thompson's Thrawn better. Yes,
that's what I was going to say. I've heard Rebels Thrawn. I prefer. Maybe it just goes with who you have spent more time with, but
who you've heard first. I'd say Mark Thompson's Thrawn, and then I might even put Empire at War video game lines Thrawn higher than Rebels Thrawn.
Rebels Thrawn's Lars Mikkelsen
for me.
Yeah, Lars Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't like that they're gonna just paint Lars Mikkelsen blue when they do him in live action, because Lars Mikkelsen has a weird shaped head, and it makes Thrawn look even more of an alien than he already is. I'm sorry, Lars Mikkelsen, if you ever listen to this.
He will never see this, but
I mean, I'm in the camp of thinking that Ahsoka doesn't really translate well to live action, and I
you know what's
I love
also
Rosario,
weird to me?
but yeah.
Rosario's
you know what's also weird to me? Like, Rebels did weird things. Like, Callus, they could have just had him be black. His voice actor's black. He already literally played basically a similar role in fucking Serenity, the Firefly movie. I guess maybe that's why they switched him to white, because they didn't literally just want to do the same character. Well, he's not like the operative. He's a lot more of a thug than the operative was in Serenity. But they also had like Sabine's actress. She's South Asian, so Indian, I think. And they made her character look East Asian. Like, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that at all. And don't get me started on Ezra Bridge of his nose. Like, what the fuck? The thing's a straight line.
Oh my god.
But he honestly, I would say that Ezra's voice actor could have played him live too. I watched him in his when what do you call it? Sam Witwer tried to DM'd the Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars RPG with the cast of Rebels.
Oh, did he?
They had
They have Freddie Prinze there too.
Freddie Prinze, because he's Freddie Prinze is good friends with Sam Witwer, so they were there.
He was
They
there.
had Steve Bloom was there. I don't like Steve Bloom very much anymore, but he was there. He did like he was voicing some like elderly Jewish comedian who smokes like 6 packs a day voice. He was a specific celebrity voice he was doing as this droid's voice. I just don't remember who it was.
Right.
It was probably one of those, classic Catskills comedians. But there was the voice director, the one who voiced Price, I think, was there. I think Hera's voice was also there, but Sabine's couldn't make it. Ezra's voice was there. And they also told stories as well. Like Ezra said he saw he was working out at the gym and Arnold Schwarzenegger and oh fuck, what's his name? Dylan.
Oh, Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers was there, and they said hi to each other. And then he immediately put his rack away and he went up to Arnold. It's like, you didn't do the handshake. You had the chance to do the Dylan, you son of a bitch, again. And he's like, oh, you're right. I should have. So,
oh my god,
Arnold, for whatever other issues he may have, funny guy. He knows to be funny.
That
And he's
Predator
like,
handshake is iconic.
It's so good. He's like, oh, I
Yeah.
should have done that. But they had a few interesting stories like that. Sam Witwer sometimes streams on Twitch. He's a pretty interesting guy. He is apparently the reason why movie or TV series will no longer list a character's name on a contract. They'll say we'll employ you for 3 years and you'll make yourself available for 3 years. And because his character got killed off on Smallville, and then they were like, well, we've got like a year and a half left on your contract. We'd like to bring you back. He's like, but I'm dead. I was already starting to line up other jobs. What are you doing? It's like, well, you got 3 years on your contract. And he said, yeah, but his agent pointed out, it says 3 years to play Professor whatever the character's name was. And that character, unless you want to write that character back into the show and bring him back from the dead, we're leaving. And so he left. And now TV show contracts don't list the character anymore, which is probably why Picard has like characters. Well, Star Trek has always had actors play multiple characters. It's been a thing that they do.
Right.
Like there's literally the thing with
Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey
Yeah.
Coombs
Or
as
Brent Spiner.
Brent Spiner, but like
too.
Jeffrey Coombs as
Jeffrey
Wayoon.
Combs, so many.
Jeffrey Coombs as Brunt. Jeffrey Coombs as Wayoon and Brunt. Just like
who's
with
the blue guy? What's his name?
He also played the Andorian in
Enterprise.
In Enterprise. I didn't watch much Enterprise.
Oh, it's so good. I love Enterprise.
I watched the episodes with ships that I wanted to see. I watched the episodes with the Klingon bird of prey. I watched the episodes with the Romulans. I watched
season 3 and 4 are worth watching completely.
I watched the episode with the Orion slave girls who turned out to actually be in control the whole time. Because I really liked the ship the Orions had. It looked like a Hutt ship, honestly, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah. They're basically the Hutts in Star Trek.
Yes. Well, the Falleen are basically the Orions in Star Wars.
True.
That's
when
true.
you think about it, the Falleen are just Orions in Star Wars.
True.
With a little bit more lizard. But yeah, I need to finish DS9 too.
This is DS9 is, in my humble opinion, the best Star Trek thing ever. It's the best.
Absolutely.
DS9 is the Star Wars fan Star Trek. Sorry, it is the truth there.
I don't know. I mean, it's very political. I mean, if we're saying Star Trek, like the
no. I mean that it's got that kind of grungier look to it. It's got that. It
went away from Roddenberry's stupid vision that everything would be perfect in the future.
It also drew from a little bit of Roddenberry's earlier work when he was doing westerns, and a lot from TOS. It drew away from his kind of perfected, not exactly communist, but kind of communist, but kind of not. Because he was not very pro-communist in his real life. Like he was at
Yeah,
times, but he also
no.
wasn't. He was a very interesting guy. Like
Yeah.
he was also like he was at times like he was a Randian at times. He was all over the map.
Ayn Rand, you
What?
mean? Randian?
Yeah, I
Oh,
You mean Ein?
yeah.
oh my goodness. The only reason I know about her is because of the BioShock game. Otherwise, I would have never known
Yeah.
about the whole concept of
Yeah, so he kind of had some advice. He had some admiration for her stuff too. But I was gonna say, like, you can also look at his older stuff, like the episodes he would write for Have Gun Will Travel. Great fucking show, by the way. I've only seen a few episodes. Every one of them was amazing. I was watching one of them, and then suddenly fucking Charles Bronson is there.
Cool.
Oh yeah,
Deep cuts.
God, I love Charles Bronson. Shit, where were we?
Well, Alex, I was
Wait,
going to say that I've seen every episode of Star Trek ever made, animated, live action, or
Oh,
otherwise.
I'm so sorry.
It is, but yeah, I know it's the last few
you
years have not been good for me.
Oh, so you've been
Discovery
watching the new
was,
stuff.
yeah, I watched the new stuff, but anyways, Deep Space Nine, in my opinion, is the best Trek that was ever made, hands down.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. Every character in DS9. I mean, I love all the characters in most of the shows, but like for example, like in the Next Generation, there's a lot of characters that are kind of just like they don't get as much development as other characters. Like
So true.
I'm trying to think. What's the doctor's name? The woman doctor?
But
Crusher.
Crusher, or
Crusher.
there was the other doctor as well.
Klasky.
I don't remember her name. Klasky.
Yeah. Well, like those characters, I feel don't get as much development. Or Geordi. He gets some episodes, but most of the time he's kind of in the background.
He kind of resets.
Data.
Yeah, Geordi likes to reset to the mean a lot of the time.
It's Data, Picard, Worf, or like the big ones, and
I feel like Troy also goes through a bit of a character arc there.
Yeah. Although I will say,
there are favorites in that series where I felt like DS9 was a great ensemble, and I felt like they really kind of spent enough time with everybody.
It
so
was
really
also
got to care about all of them.
It was also less episodic, so characters could develop more. Like
True.
You would have I would say, like Worf got some. Unfortunately, everyone's least favorite character got a lot of the development because he was literally aging on screen. But Worf got a little bit with his, internal honor versus external honor. Social-based honor versus self-respect type, and being able to live with yourself. But other than that, a lot of them, and I would say Riker got to continue on a lot. Although I've seen people say, after Best of Both Worlds, where he rejects getting his own command, he doesn't develop that much.
Yeah, I feel like Riker's in the same place at the end of that series that he was in the beginning of that series. I always appreciated Deanna Troi. I think it was Chain of Command where so whoever takes over for Picard, he calls her out on her uniform, and then after that point, in every other episode of TNG, she's wearing a much more modest, like science officer uniform.
It's not even necessarily modest. Like the uniforms could have different cuts. She's just wearing outright civilian clothing was the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a dude in a skirt in the fucking episode too.
Once I finish Star Wars and a couple other things, I do plan on reading a whole bunch of Star Trek books as well. So for those people who are interested in Star Trek, I will do that too.
Yeah,
I'm going to start with the post-Nemesis timeline, which is all the books after Nemesis that don't count all the new shows, and then I'll go back and read the books that are like
There's apparently a good book with Garrick in it. I mean, what with fucking Garrick isn't good, but
right?
I know.
Love Garrick.
There's
also probably my favorite.
There's also a book or a comic where Q fuses with one of the prophets.
Oh, and the wormhole aliens?
Yeah, one of the wormhole prophets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know from Nelson just that after Nemesis, the book starts to become more like the Star Wars EU, where they all kind of like are an interconnected continuity. I mean, all of it is technically connected, but
Yeah.
books for that are more one-offs that happened in between episodes or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that because I don't care about Picard. I don't want to watch it. It's funny, the little thing, one of the things that pissed me off, even though it's a small thing, was because I mean, cussing isn't a problem for me. Like you guys, or like you've been doing it. I don't care. But Star Trek specifically established in the Voyage Home that they may cuss, but they cuss differently than we do, because they were when Kirk and Spock were on the bus, they were like scoffing at like people talking that way. And in Picard, I was watching trailers left and right. You got the F-bomb and stuff going on.
Yeah.
Or not left and right, but it was there. And
it
I'm
was
like,
frequent enough. Yeah. Asshole.
This shouldn't be happening in Star Trek.
Kiss my ass,
It's not even
Picard season 2. Picard season 2 is the worst Star Trek I've ever seen. And like Discovery gives us a run for its money, but Picard season 2 almost made me give up on any new Trek.
Oh, really?
I've already done.
Strange New Worlds isn't terrible, but
Strange New Worlds also moved an event from the 90s to something after fucking 2020.
You're talking about the eugenics wars?
Mm-hmm. I mean, they did and they didn't. They're kind of pussyfooting around, but they literally said, I still want to see a picture of I saw somebody post that they needed to see Khan in a fucking buffalo hat.
Yeah. You know
what?
This is the problem with all Kurtzman Trek, though, is that it doesn't really honor much of what came before. So
certainly not. Or they'll like when they wanted to have a fucking Cardassian on evil Picard's mantle. You know what they could have done? They could have made it the one who fucking tortured him, but instead they went for Dukat because they wanted to go for Dukat because he's the remember DS9 but at the same time, remember there are 4 lights. That would have been fucking kind of, if you're gonna put one on his fucking mantle place.
Played by the late great David Warner.
Yeah. Oh yeah, shit, he's dead.
He just passed away like recently, I think, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Mark Alimo's not got much longer in him too. That's gonna suck. Fucking Odo's died, and that sucked a lot. I think he died the same year as Nog.
Rene Auberjonois, I think.
Rene Auberjonois.
I forgot about. I tried to block that out. Nog, because that guy wasn't even close to being old yet.
He was like 50. He was like 50 something. Yeah. He was like 50 something.
Well, okay, but not like when I'm talking old. I mean like 80 to 90. Because 50 is still like young in this day and age, I guess.
It is.
It's old.
You know what's weird?
It's the middle stage.
You know what's weird? Original Russian fucking Chekhov is still alive, but the one from JJ Trek died.
That's right.
Have you guys seen Babylon?
Over because he left his car in neutral and it just rolled back onto him. Fucking horrible.
Yes, Alex, I have seen Babylon 5.
Yeah. So
I've only seen like 3 episodes of it.
Well, Chekhov is in that show, and let me tell you, after you watch that show, you won't think about him as Chekhov anymore. He's phenomenal in that show.
Which character was he?
Alfred Bester.
Yeah. He owns that role better than he does as Chekhov, because Chekhov is just like this background.
He was young when he made that, yes.
Well, but the other thing is that they don't really give Chekhov much to do in most of the episodes.
Alfred Chester, you said?
Alfred Bester. He's a psychop. He comes on Babylon 5. Yeah. He's not an anti-hero. He is the reluctant ally a lot of the time, and sometimes nemesis.
Are reluctant. Sometimes nemesis, and I shouldn't say he's reluctant ally. I should say that other people are reluctant to ally with him.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's named after the character is apparently named after an old sci-fi author.
But problem if you love Star Trek,
problem is I get really weird about older sci-fi guys because I learned about that whole cult that they had going in Berkeley with the child molesters.
Oh damn!
Yeah.
What?
Marion Zimmer Bradley and like one of the big sci-fi awards groups was kind of heavily not all of that group, because a lot of them were kind of recruited specifically just to give them cover, but like the Berkeley clique was, she and her husband were horrible people. Like their own
I
daughter eventually came out and said,
yeah, I read about this
yeah,
years ago. You just like unlocked a core memory for me. This
yeah.
is
So I'm just like, I don't want, every time I read about one of these classic authors, I'm just like, and then there's, what's his name, Star Child concept guy who ran away to like Sri Lanka and allegedly abused boys over there too. But there's less evidence against him, but there's still a lot more than people admit.
I don't mean to burst the fun that we're having. We have had one viewer this entire time, so that's a trooper.
Yeah, God
But
bless.
yeah, I appreciate it. But it is almost 12 a.m.
Oh
for
Jesus, it's almost 3
the
here. Fuck.
my friend. Yeah, it's almost 3 for me. It's 2:53 a.m. right now. So
Yeah.
I think we should all probably get some sleep.
yeah,
Especially Marcel, is that how I say it?
yeah. You're absolutely
Marcel.
correct. That's how you pronounce it. Yeah,
Marcel. Hey, look, I did it right once.
yeah,
But he has kids,
yeah.
so
I'll be
I
up in
don't.
3 hours. So
Yeah, you might want to
this
get your
is
sleep before you have
this.
none.
Sleep is you can sleep plenty of time to sleep when you die is what they say, right? So
I guess so.
yeah,
Well, um, I think I'm gonna end it here. Just so you know,
cool.
guys, I'll talk to you for a couple more minutes after the fact. I'm gonna end the. If I end the broadcast, you guys will still be here. If you didn't know,
Oh,
so unless you exit out.
okay. So I'll
So
make sure to close the tab. All right.
yeah. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time I do something like this, I guess.
All right. So we
Cool.
would still